manufactured locally for the Carolinas. This is the Rob Brown Show. Yeah, Rob. Only on the Fan Upstate.
And off we go, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, and everybody who's not a fan of one of the four teams in the conference finals of the NHL and the NBA. Today's going to be a good day. If you're one of the four teams on the verge of a sweep in your respected conference finals, maybe not so much. History in the making, ladies and gentlemen. And we're going to get into it here in just mere moments from now on the Rob Brown Show and the Fan Upstate. Howdy, y'all. How's everybody? How was your weekend? Hope it was spectacular. Hope you got some R&R in. Hope everybody's just living their best life, y'all. My name is Rob Brown. The pleasure is mine, but not exclusively, because directly on the other side of the metaphorical glass today, the guy in charge of this and every radio broadcast everywhere all the time, the Alpha and the Omega of the Fan Upstate, the Sultan of Swag, the Professor of Perfection, the Wizard of Wave, the Content Cash Cow. He is the Miami Heat of radio, ladies and gentlemen. The great one, Lonzo, is here as well. What up, Zo?
Sup, yo? Keeping it real over here. Yeah.
Yeah. Lonzo said, I didn't stay up to watch the end of that game last night. To which I responded, we didn't miss anything. If there was going to be a game in the NBA's conference finals to go to sleep to, it was last night, Zo, because it was a snoozer. Unless you're a Miami Heat fan, in which case you were just having the time of your life last night, because the Celtics were embarrassing. How embarrassing, you ask?
What's the seed for the Celtics?
The Boston Celtics entered the NBA's Eastern Conference Finals as the East. It was just supposed to be them.
Okay. All right.
It was just supposed to be the Boston Celtics in the East. Now, in fairness, Milwaukee came in as the 1 seed. Boston came in as the 2, but they were I think a half game away from being the 1 seed. And then Milwaukee got gentlemen swept out of the playoffs by the Miami Heat. The same team beat them 4 games to 1. And everybody went, yeah. But like, Boston's the team to beat in this conference. That it's Boston. It's Boston and everybody else, right? Miami didn't just put them in the ground 3-0 last night, which is where they stand. But Miami took their pride last night. Miami took their manhood last night. Like, it was just, yeah. Let me tell you how bad it was. How bad was it? Tell you how bad it was. I'm going to go ahead and jump, if you don't mind, Zo, right into the audio. In fact, I'm going to go clip 1D here. Y'all know I love me some Inside the NBA on TNT. Shaq, Chuck, Ernie, Kenny. Love the boys. And I love the boys because they do TV the way I think TV should be done. It's just fun. This was the first, 80 seconds of Inside the NBA on TNT last night after Boston got embarrassed by the Miami Heat. This is the most viewed basketball studio show on the planet, talking about last night's playoff game. All right, in fairness, I left the fat joke on at the end for me.
Well, that was one of the highlights of the thing. That was the
Yeah.
most interesting part. Apparently more interesting than the game is the fat jokes.
The fat joke was left in there for me, and the fat joke got left in there for me because it was my second favorite part of the clip. The only thing that I liked more than the second part of the clip and Shaq and Chuck getting into a fat guy war was Ernie saying, we just got done watching the NBA's Eastern Conference Finals Game 3, but it looked more like an episode of Forensic Files because the Celtics got killed. I mean, just smoked last night. And here's the thing. Whenever you have a game like that, so you kind of bounce back and forth and trying to figure out, all right, did the Celtics win, or excuse me, did Miami win, or did Boston blow it? And the answer is, in this one, to me, very easy. Both. Both. Jimmy Butler remains that guy. Jimmy Butler in the playoffs is still Jimmy Butler in the playoffs. Here's the thing. Jimmy Butler only had 16 last night, right? Now, the 16 he had came in spots that were devastating. He was 5 of 13 from the floor, 0 of 1 from deep. But Jimmy Butler opened up the floor for everybody else. He opened up the floor for Gabe Vincent in his 29, Max Strus in his 10, Bam Adebayo in his 13, 22 off the bench for Duncan Robinson. Duncan Robinson came in for 22. 18 for Martin. On the flip side, the Boston Celtics were embarrassing. Let me go to, I'm going to go clip 1 here, if you don't mind. This is former NBAer Eddie House. Eddie House spent some time playing for Beantown. He was on that big 3 team that won the, 08 NBA Finals? Eddie was on that team. Eddie's got some love for the Beantown Celtics, and he went on, I think, NESN last night and got asked, hey, Eddie, quick question. What the hell was that? And Eddie said this.
I have a problem with this because we hear in the NBA that coaches aren't really that important. That it's really the star players that are running the thing. So if they lack motivation, why is that the coach's fault? Why isn't that the team as a whole? Why isn't that the team leaders, whoever they may be, not stepping up and say, hey, come on, guys, we got to play better than this? Why is it the coach's fault?
I'm going to open, so I'm glad you said that because that's almost exactly the direction that I wanted to go. I am going to open by saying this to me is proof that that statement is factually incorrect. I do think that star players are key in the NBA. If you want to win a title, you have got to have a playoff Jimmy, a LeBron, a Giannis. But I think you've got to have somebody who knows what the hell they're doing with the clipboard too. Because Joe Mazzulla is getting circles run around him by Eric Spo. And we've talked about Spo in the past. Eric Spoelstra, since the departure of Bosch and Wade and Braun, since the departure of the big three in Miami, Eric Spoelstra has been one of the best culture-building coaches in the National Basketball Association. He went and he found playoff Jimmy, and he put playoff Jimmy together. And in putting playoff Jimmy and the rest of this Heat staff together and keeping playoff Jimmy and this Heat roster together, all of a sudden, the Miami Heat have been one of the most consistently competitive teams in the NBA. Again, they haven't won NBA titles every single year, but they have been more than consistently competitive for like a while. And I'm looking at Mazzulla walking the sideline, and let's call a spade here. Mazzulla looks out of his depth, right? That guy's got no idea. In fact, I'm not the only one who said this. I'm not the only one who has said this. Let me go to clip 1E. There was somebody else last night who got on the mic and said, this is my bad. It's Mazzulla. This is one of those interesting spots for me as a broadcaster because on one hand, I understand that Mazzulla has no good reason to tell us what any of that means, right? But if I'm a fan and I just watched my team get the doors blown off of them, a game they lost by 26, and frankly, it wasn't that close. If I just watched my team get the doors blown off of them, I would really appreciate it if my head coach came out and gave me something. But I didn't do enough to get them ready to play. Ain't it? Like I said, I know Mazzulla doesn't have any good reason to jump on the mic and go, all right, here's what went wrong. You know, I put together this zone defense because I thought that if we limited Jimmy Butler to one side of the floor and other guys were forced into pressure situations, that our backside help defense would be able to cover them up and they wouldn't be able to get anything going. And I was wrong about, just give me anything. Give me something. But instead, I got a coach going, oh, my bad. Coach, what went wrong? We just weren't good enough. I said, I know he's got no reason to say anything deeper than that. But if I was a Boston Celtic fan this morning, I'd be furious by that. Be furious by that. There was a lot going on last night in that game. The Boston Celtics were not ready. They just weren't. The Miami Heat were more than ready. And that's why, Zoe, to go back to what you said to open this up, I think we can all pretty much look at this game now and go, coaching does matter in the NBA. To say it doesn't is ridiculous. This is why when Minnesota is getting rid of Coach Bud, a guy who coached them, Milwaukee. This is why I look at Milwaukee firing Coach Bud and I scratch my head and go, what the hell is that? A guy who coached you to a 1 seed, who then got beat by a Miami Heat team that's about to sweep the 2 seed. And he got gentlemen swept in a game where the best, most physically gifted player in the NBA, Giannis Antetokounmpo, played 11 minutes in game 1 before he got injured and did not return until what? Game 4? And by that point, the hole had been dug. This is why Bud is going to be on the short list of every NBA team looking for a new head coach, because coaching matters. Mazzulla is not ready today. Forget was not ready coming into this series. He is not ready now. Eric Spoelstra, on the other hand, has been one of the most consistently reliable coaches in the NBA, and he is whiteboarding circles around Mazzulla right now. Mazzulla just told you that himself. Well, the only problem the Boston Celtics had last night, it is a massive problem, Zoe, when your backup players come in and have more juice than you do down the stretch. When Smart and the rest of the backups checked into that game, they had more juice than the starters did. The law firm of Williams & Williams had more energy than Tatum and Smart did. Hauser, Cornette, Brogdon, all these guys came in and played limited minutes and did so with more gas in the tank than the Boston starting lineup did. It was embarrassing. You got to put this on the starters across the front 5 for Boston too, because they were hot garbage and never got anything going. At one point, they were down like 20 with 11 minutes left in the third. Lonzo, can you come back from down 20 with 11 minutes in the third period?
Oh, absolutely.
Yes!
Especially in the era of the three-pointer.
Yes! 6 shots, you're down 2. It's unbelievable. All right, here's a voice we ain't heard from in a minute, and the fact that he's calling in to rep the C's, or maybe should I say walk away from the C's, is interesting. Crazy Ralph, welcome back to the show, big dog. How you doing?
Yeah, it's good to talk with you. Celtics, been a fan for 40 years, seen it all. Was so pissed off all season. They talk about Tatum averaging 30 a game. No Celtic had ever done that. I was like, give me a break, man. Regular season, are you serious? This guy, he evaporates in the playoffs, and he's done it yet again this year. I don't ever want to hear anybody mention his name in the same breath as Larry Bird ever again. I loved what you said a minute ago about Butler controlling that game with 16 points. You know who used to do things like that? Larry freaking Bird. He could have 16 or he could have 60. The Celtics were always going to win the game, but if he had 16, you better believe he had about 14 assists, probably about 12 rebounds to go along with it, because that's what star players do in big situations. They don't evaporate like Brown and Tatum. This is a joke. It's a travesty. They pulled the wool over our eyes for how many freaking years now? They freaking ran Brad Stevens, a phenomenal coach, up into the front office because Brown and Tatum didn't want to listen to a little white guy who'd never played in the NBA before. And that's a fact. It's all over Boston. That's why he's in the front office. It's pathetic. It's sickening. And if they had any sense whatsoever, they'd do what you said and hire Bud tomorrow. because that guy's one of the best coaches. I don't understand what Milwaukee was thinking, getting rid of him. Celtics ought to jump on him tomorrow and put him running that team. And if they got to trade Tatum and Brown to do it, I don't care. Now's the time while the iron's hot. You got to package Smart and you got to package Brown. And I don't know, maybe even throw Horford in there because he and Brogdon were complete trash the last 2 games. I think maybe they're getting a little too old or something. But yeah, I'm fired up today. This is supposed to be a championship season for us, and we've just crapped it right down the toilet.
Ralph, good to have you back, big dog. I just need more NBA analyst Crazy Ralph on the show moving forward. Because, yes, this Boston team is good enough to win a championship. Instead, they're going to become the next team to not come back from down 0-3. Never happened. And I got news for you. It ain't happening in either of the 2 series. By the way, they popped it off on the TV last night, Lonzo. In the history of the NBA playoffs, there has never been a double sweep in the conference finals. It's never happened before. Which is interesting because if you get a sweep, ordinarily what a sweep does for you is it gives you an extra 3 or 4 days of rest to get right while the other team's got to go finish off. Now, all of a sudden, we got not 1 but 2 teams in Denver and Miami that are about to sweep the conference finals, which means neither team gets an advantage by sweeping. The difference here is that the Lakers were a play-in team. The Lakers have just done what we knew they were going to do. They've hit the wall. You weren't that good in the regular season. You got white hot at the right time, but you can't carry white hot for 4 weeks. You can carry it for 2, maybe 3. You can't carry white hot for 4, and you came up against a very good Denver team, who we're going to talk about later in the show. We're also later in the show, #Segway. I'm good at my job. Going to talk some college baseball as the conference regular seasons have come to their conclusion. We get set for conference tournaments. What did Clemson finish up? Where did South Carolina finish up? We're going to give you those thoughts later on in the show. We got to get some NHL. The Carolina Cardiac Canes cannot figure out the Florida Panthers. They are down 0-2. The Dallas Stars are down 0-2 to the Vegas Golden Knights. Is our Stanley Cup Finals set before it's set? We'll talk about that and a whole lot more. It's going to be busy. My name is Rob Brown. That's the great one, Lonzo. And ladies and gentlemen, you're listening to The Rob Brown Show on the Fan Upstate. Crazy Ralph going off in the AM. Love that. Joey B says, Coach Spud making this run to the finals is making me think he has a much larger role in the Big 3 Heat championships than people ever thought. Yeah, listen, coaching is 2 parts, right? It's part chemistry, part tactics. It's part taking the guys you have and fitting them together, and it's part taking the fit that you've put together with those guys and drawing it up on the whiteboard to where it works. And to me, Spo has proven that he's a big part of that. Big part of that. Joey B said, speaking of unreasonably hot teams, Clemson baseball. Yeah. Let's see. How did the weekend? I didn't get to watch as much as I would have liked. Finish off with the win over USC Upstate, followed by the 3-game sweep of the Heels. Doubled them up 14-7 on Thursday. Walked them off 5-4 on Friday. 3-1 win on Saturday for Senior Day. And now we get set up for the ACC tourney when Clemson opens up versus the Hokies on Wednesday at 7 p.m. Follow that up with a second matchup with BC on Friday at 11 a.m. College baseball is all about the right team getting white hot at the right moment. And I would absolutely say Clemson has done just that.
The streak of scaring people as they open up the restroom door as I'm leaving continues.
You're a large man, Lonzo.
Just trying to walk out the door, man. No bad intentions except for coming back in here. So, you know.
Baseball is in full swing. The free Odyssey app lets you listen to local coverage for the team you
Some guy.
By the way, it's not lurking if you're just trying to open the door. It's not lurking. I can lurk if I want to.
You can lurk if you want to.
Many of our clients come to us after a bad experience with another company. From high-pressure sales techniques to misinformation, we've heard it all. If you're facing foundation problems, take a breath and take time to get a second opinion. We offer free estimates and reliable advice. Call 864-581-3341. CNT Foundations, your foundation expert.
So Pappy decided to utter something Saturday that I had to cut off.
Pappy got dumped?
No. But he said the word prison pocket, which are two words, which I gotta admit, never heard of before. But it's like, yeah, that's enough of that. That's enough of that. Because our oops was a guy who tried to smuggle scissors into prison in his butt.
Mm-hmm.
We were trying to figure out, which end do you put in first? And Tim's like, oh no, it had to be covered in like in a bag or something. Still pointy and metal. So I mean, and then that. It's just like,
that's incredible.
It's just like, no, we're moving on from that. We're not going back to that.
That's incredible.
That'll be his most proud moment ever.
Why wouldn't it be? The Rob Brown Show rolls on. It is the Fan Upstate. Rob Alonzo with you. 844-326-3663. 844-FANFONE. That is the Gilstrap Family Dealerships.com phone line. Give us a buzz. Jump on the air. You can text us 71307. 71307. Start your text with the word fan, F-A-N. Start your text with fan, F-A-N, and we will read them on the radio broadcast. Hit us up. I was watching Nuggets Lakers the other night. A game that Denver put away 119-108. They find themselves now in a 3-0 advantage over the Lake Show. Nikola Jokic, Jamal Murray. Let's just call a spade here. They just playing with the Lakers now, right? Like, they're just playing now. They're just having fun at this point. They're just playing. I have enjoyed this series for a couple of reasons. Number one, I have mentioned once or twice on this show before, I'm a LeBron fan, all right? You can dislike him for whatever reason you want to dislike him, but I am a LeBron James fan. However, my joy at seeing the success of a LeBron James is outmatched, Lonzo, by my joy of seeing Lakers fans come to the realization that your team's not that good, dude.
For those on the radio, he just air quoted. For those on Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, and Twitter, you saw him air quote.
Lakers fans.
Just because something hasn't been done doesn't mean it won't. They could come back. It starts with one, Rob.
What do I have to offer up for a bet to get you to take that?
I was thinking of being spray tanned live in studio.
Okay.
But spray tanned poorly. So being spray tanned by the other person. on the show.
So
Notice how he's going past that.
no, I'm not going past that, but there has to be something that goes the other direction. There's no point in a one-way punishment.
Dude.
Or if a thing that's literally never happened before happens, I get to spray paint you orange.
Or if it does, or
But if it doesn't happen and they both get swept,
then I would get it's this punishment goes both ways.
Oh,
I
okay.
mean, if one loses,
for the record, I got negative interest in spray painting you orange or any other color for that matter.
I'll dress for the occasion.
Yeah, no, I don't need Alonzo parading around the studio in a Speedo.
Yeah, I
don't need it.
I actually have some of those, so I'm good for that. So what you're saying is you wouldn't do it. It has nothing to do with me. It has nothing to do with me. You're painting it like it's all me, but you don't want to have to do that.
I'm not going to accept this bet because.
By the way, I didn't say that I was going to do that. I think if Boo Box comes back, that might have to be
list.
That might need to be in there. Although, if you absolutely say no, then we won't do it. But because there are logistics and making sure you don't damage the studio and
Correct.
things like that.
I am going to say this: the Boston Celtics can have a fork stuck in them because they done. The LA Lakers can have a fork stuck in them because they done.
The difference between the two series is that the Lakers have been competitive, and they've been right there at the end of every single, or at least two of the three games. They had a shot to win. They've taken the lead in the fourth or something like that, and they haven't been able to hold it. So it's not like they're just getting their butts beat. They're right there. So them getting a victory would not be that much of a shocker. At least I don't think.
The Lakers are not in this series. Like, I know the games, the final scores have been close, but that's why I opened with
no.
Denver's
Anthony Davis has not been in this series.
Right, but that's what they built the team around.
Right, they did.
Like, everybody is asked for LeBron to step up. It's like, guys, my man is closer to 40 than 36 at this point. LeBron James cannot go get you 45 and 50 and save a bad team. Listen.
If they brought Kyrie in instead of Anthony Davis, would it be different?
No, it would not. I'm not putting Kyrie down as the guy that could save this inning.
I'm trying to find someone equal who they were going after or somewhat equal.
All right. Who could we plug in next to LeBron that could get this done?
Well, Jimmy Butler, obviously.
Jimmy Butler goes on that list. Giannis goes on that list. I would say his head right, Jason Tatum could go on that list. If his head's right, Jay Tate could go on that list. Who else would you put on the list? Because AD ain't it. Now, if I go back to that last game, Anthony Davis had 28. He was 11 of 18 from the floor, 6 of 8 from the stripe, 18 boards and 2 blocks. AD didn't have a bad day.
Because that was every other game he plays pretty well.
Correct.
It was that game.
You had 23 from Reeves, 23 from Braun, 28 from AD. The only other guy who pitched in was 13 from Hachimura off the bench, but it took him 34 minutes and 5 of 12 from the floor to get it. So the point here is that the Lakers aren't that good, right? As a Pelicans fan, I've told this before. As a Pelicans fan, I got real excited. I got real excited because the Lakers ain't that good. And we had an unprotected number 1 pick from them this year if we choose. They were supposed to be in the lottery. Instead, they're in the Western Conference Finals because they got white hot at the right time. But they were white hot with a starting 5 and 0 depth. None. The Nuggets, on the other hand, don't need depth, right? If you're going to have a starting five that you expect to go 32 minutes, 38 minutes, 38 minutes, 42 minutes, and 34 minutes, you better have one or two guys off the bench that can carry you. They do in Green and Brown. And those five guys better be young, right? Can you truly trust LeBron to get you 43 minutes of play and not expect him to be a little winded at the end? My dude's 38, all right? 38.
In exceptional shape for that age,
Sure.
and might secretly have a foot injury.
38 years old and the best shape 38-year-old on the planet, all right? He just is. I am slightly behind LeBron in terms of physique.
But you're working on it.
I'm very not doing that
You're
at all. I ate
you're
like 7
progressing.
slices of pizza last night. It's not going
Are
great.
they small slices or
No.
really big?
Little Caesar's hot and ready. Not even
Oh.
like good pizza,
Okay.
right? Not even like I went and got Carmine's or anything like that. I ate like 7 slices of Little Caesars hot and ready last night. So yes, LeBron's got just a little bit of edge in the physique department over me. You know why? Because he's got that wall machine thing. That's what the commercials say.
Yeah. What are you looking in the mirror? Is it
Yeah,
that
the mirror
one?
wall
Yeah,
thing.
Yeah.
If I had that, I'd be yoked.
Because you got a trainer on the other
Yeah.
side and they're pushing you.
Yeah. 42, what was it? 43 minutes out of LeBron, 42 for AD. 40 out of Reeves, 34 out of Hachimura off the bench.
So what you're saying is tonight, there's no sense of even watching because it's over.
I mean, I'll watch it just because it's a sweep. Get the brooms. Here's the thing. You can go with, the Lakers have been in this, right? The Nuggets didn't pull away from the Lakers until late. But here's the thing. If the Nuggets are in the game with 10 minutes left to play, that's the strategy. That's it. The strategy is, if you are Denver, and I think Mike Malone's drawn this up perfectly, and I think it's worked every game. The strategy is, go out there, if you're Denver, go out there, play relaxed for 3.5 quarters, right? For 3.5 quarters, play relaxed. Just let them stick with us. Because for the Lakers to keep up with the Nuggets, a much younger team, they got to go full throttle from the tip. The Nuggets don't have to go full throttle to keep up with the Lakers. The Nuggets are going 60, 70%. The Lakers are going full throttle at them. And then what happens with 10 minutes, with 6 minutes, with 5 minutes left to play? The Nuggets got a half a tank of gas left. The Lakers are on fumes. And so Nikolai and Jamal and co. just outpace them up and down the floor for the last 5 and win in the 4th. Don't believe me? Let's go back to game 3. The Nuggets run them in the first quarter, 32-20. The Lakers outpace them 35-26 in the second quarter. Was that because the Nuggets just suddenly weren't good anymore? No. No, they built up a 12-point lead. They just coasted. Let the Lakers use up all their gas on the afterburners to catch up. So it's a 3-point game at the half. Third quarter, the Lakers were hammering down. They won the third quarter by a point. And then what happened in the fourth? 35-26, the mirror image of the second, except the Nuggets were out front. You pace them in the fourth. That's what's happened. That's what's going to continue to happen, and that's what's going to happen tonight. People are going to jump in. People are going to jump in looking at the halftime score, which is going to be Nuggets by 2, Nuggets by 3, Lakers by 1, Lakers by 2. And people are going to go, that's it. That's it. That's the Lake Show. That's who we're waiting for. We're back. And then the Nuggets are going to win the fourth quarter, and they're going to put the brooms away and go home. Because Mike Malone, going back to what we talked about in the last segment, Mike Malone, just like Eric Spoelstra, drew up the perfect game plan, right? The perfect game plan. Let them run themselves out in the first and the second and the third, and then once their legs fall out from under them, kill them in the fourth. Go back to the last game, game 2. They were tied at 27 at the end of the first. The Lakers were up 5 at half. Denver got 2 of them back in the third and then beat them by 8 in the fourth. It's the fourth quarter that's making the difference here. And that's because Mike Malone said, this team's old. LeBron's 38. AD's 30, but he's had a rash of injuries. He's got the body of a 38-year-old. And who else they got? Austin Reeves has been a revelation for the Lakes show. But they didn't come into these playoffs thinking Austin Reeves is going to be the savior, right? Austin Reeves has been black. He has been the wrench in the system so far. But is Austin Reeves enough to overcome Nikola Jokic? Nah, bro. So tonight, call the shot now. The Nuggets are putting the Lakers away in the 4-game sweep. You're going to see a Lakers small lead or very small deficit at the end of the third, and then the Nuggets are going to win the fourth quarter by 15 points and win the game. Book it now. Thank me tomorrow. Let's take a break. We'll come back. We'll wrap up hour number 1. By the way, Texter said that Damian Lillard could be the guy that slotted into AD's spot and win that series. I actually don't hate that. I don't hate Damian Lillard as that pick. Damian Lillard in Anthony Davis's role, the Lakers are, I'm not saying they're winning this series, but they'd be in a better spot to do it. Let's take a break. We'll come back, clean up hour number 1 after this on the Rob Brown Show on the Fan Upstate.
Get your thing done Friday?
Mm-hmm. Sure enough did.
Jared Schuster held the Mariners to just 1 hit. He struck out 7 with a walk in his 4th career start. Catcher Travis d'Arnaud had a pair of hits for Atlanta, including his first homer of the season. The NL East leading Braves are set for a series against the NL West leading Dodgers. That starts tonight. 5-3 ready Charlie Morton stands for the Braves. They'll take on Dodgers ready Gavin Stone. The Fan Upstate is your home for Furman Paladin Sports all year long.
Malone dropping the put that in your pipes and smoke it was just a beautiful.
You need Simple Checking from Home Trust Bank. With Simple Checking, you get all the essential checking services for free, including 100% online.
Let's see if he makes it back in time.
It's everything you need from a checking account, but no hoops, no surprises, no monthly fees. Stop by today or call.
My apologies for not being very talkative, but
Simple Checking at Home Trust. Ready for what's next. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender. Meet Joe A.
still working on getting his strength back. I'm also limiting my caffeine intake, which is not that much in the first place, but because of carbonation and I don't drink coffee, so.
I don't think about taking melatonin because I'm afraid I'll feel groggy in the morning.
Sequel Pure Z's Gummies has an optimal dose of melatonin for no next day grogginess, so you can fall asleep naturally and wake up feeling refreshed. Sequel Pure Z's Gummies for better sleep like never before. And try Pure Z Sleep Plus Next Day Energy with melatonin plus extended release B vitamins.
Finding great people to hire can be like trying to find a needle in a haystack, but not with ZipRecruiter. Their powerful matching technology delivers so many qualified candidates. It's like finding a needle in a needle stack. In fact,
So I got that video done Saturday. I was struggling doing something, and I'm gonna have to try Rush next. because Adobe just overcomplicates things to a degree that it doesn't need to. I mean, I'm sure there are people out there that use all that stuff, but how many of them? I was trying to get Tim to explain to me how to do something, and it's like, okay, that takes way too long.
But are you talking about Photoshop?
No, talking about
the videos.
The video,
Yeah.
Premiere Pro. And so I went back in and I looked at it and I watched some quick videos, and there are simpler ways to do some of the things. It's just a matter of getting better and quicker at it.
The Rob Brown Show back on your radio. It is the Fan Upstate, wrapping up hour number 1, talking some NBA, ladies and gentlemen. I'm going to go ahead and call the shot. I know I'm stepping out on a very thin branch here, but your NBA finals are Denver and Miami.
I think I'm sure the Vegas odds have it that way for sure, and probably should, but it still wouldn't shock me if at least the Lakers pull off one game. I think the Celtics are completely done.
Celtics are roasted. That team, whatever chemistry that team had is gone, right? It's out the window. Whatever chemistry that team had is toast. Now, after game 2, where Miami went to Boston and took both from the C's in their house, I won't get it. I can't get it. I tried to get it. It didn't come to me. Boston entered game 3 as the favorites on the road. The NBA, you get about 2.5 points for being the home team, and Boston was still favored by 5.5, if I recall correctly, which meant that Vegas listed them as 7-point favorites over the Heat. Now, I don't think any of us expected last night to go the way that it went. But Miami is a team that I'm enjoying watching for the same reason I'm enjoying watching the Denver Nuggets. They got 2 things in common. Number 1, Brandon just pointed it out on the stream. Blue-collar lunch pail team. Miami just goes to work, right? There's flash to that team, but only when they're looking at Boston and going, what'd you say? You said something?
Yeah, I was going to say.
Did you say something?
You can't be entirely lunch pail if you have some flash, and Jimmy Butler has flash.
So last night, at one point, Al Horford hit a shot and turned and dropped the timeout on Jimmy Buckets. Jimmy Buckets hit what do you have, 8 assists last night? Hit another assist last night. Miami's knocks down the 3. Jimmy Buckets moonwalked to half court, then looked at Al Horford and went, timeout. He called a timeout for his team after he hit an assist that led to a knockdown 3 that put him up, I think, 26 at the time. He looked at Al Horford and went, don't worry, dog. I'll call it for you. Y'all need one. I'm going to go ahead and give you a breather. I'll call the time. I will kill off one of our TOs for you, my man.
And see, that's why they can't be entirely lunch pail because of something like that. Before I drifted off into that good night last night, one of the last things I remember is that Bam slam, the Bam slam.
The Bam slam.
Which was, he was so far above that rim. I'm like, oh, this thing is so done.
Old slam out of bio. It was done.
The ooper or the alley ooper never gets enough credit when they hit it perfectly.
A well-timed alley-oop is one of the sweetest things in sports. A well-executed alley-oop remains one of the best things in sports. On the flip side, Denver's the same way. That's not a team that does a lot of smack talk. Not a team with a ton of razzle dazzle.
Denver is lunch pail. I mean, because there's no one showing out there. Even Jokic, when he has a killer game, he's not in the camera and doing all that. He just goes back and hits the other side of the court.
We've said it before. Let's say it one more time. Nikola Jokic is the most boring best player on the floor of all time. Nikola Jokic's game is boring as hell. And that is why I'm enjoying watching him beat the hell out of the Lakers. Because Lakers fans, Hollywood fans, they're all about the show, right? They're all about the show. They always have been. In fact, grab me clip 3 real quick. It's a short one. This is Mike Malone. Mike got asked after game 3, when Denver went into LA and ripped their guts out, what he was afraid of, and here's how he answered. That's it. I was afraid, says Mike Malone, that LA would get momentum, that LA would start getting down the floor, that LeBron would start throwing oops, that AD would start bringing the rack down on our heads, and the place would erupt, because that's what the Lake Show is all about, right? It's about energy. It's about momentum. It's about getting CryptBro.com arena hype as hell and creating a home court advantage. The Nuggets recognized one other thing. All right, or scratch that. I don't want to say they did this because they recognized it. I just think this is the mentality of the team. There's 2 ways to get a home court hype. Way number 1 is for the home team to do some stuff, right? LeBron throwing oops to AD and bringing the rack down. But the second way to allow the Lake Show crowd to get into it is what? Is getting in their face. Is knocking down threes and turning to the home court crowd and saying, bring the noise. It's talking smack as the away team. Denver hadn't done that at all. Denver's not getting in Jack's face. Denver's not taunting the Hollywood celebrities. Denver's going in, going to work, getting the job done, clocking out, getting back to the house, and getting a good night's sleep. They did it in game 3. They're going to do it tonight. Get the brooms. The Lakers are done. The Nuggets and the Heat are a pair of blue-collar mentality teams. And this series in the NBA Finals, Miami v. Denver, is going to be fun for that exact reason. Old school basketball. Go out there, play, win, move on. I'm here for it. Let's take a break. We'll come back. Hour number 2, we got some NFL talk to get into. Schedules are out. Rookie camps are done. Let's look across the NFC South. See where everybody's lined up, shall we? All that more coming up in the next hour of the Rob Brown Show in the Fan Upstate. Carmelo Anthony, who has been playing since I was 1.
Yeah, I saw he retired.
In a career.
I didn't want to go breaking news because did he even play the season?
Yeah.
Did he?
He did not. I want to say more towards the beginning of the year. Also, I'm going to go ahead and get y'all some free money. The Denver Nuggets are plus 3.5 tonight in LA. They are underdogs. Somebody explain that to me. Does anybody explain that to me? Diggs, what's up, big dog? Brandon, Trey, all the game. Would you trade Zion for AD based on what you've seen out of their careers? No, I would not. No, Zion. If Zion can't get healthy, he can sit his big old behind on the bench at New Orleans until his contract's up. I don't care if we get nothing in return for him. Don't care.
If that happens, he goes somewhere else, gets healthy, and has a Hall of Fame career. Are you going to hate him?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
All right.
Absolutely.
Treatments from your body's own natural biologics. Where's your joint pain? Is it in your knees, hips, shoulders, your back? Well, QC Kinetics concentrates these impactful treatments right at the source of your pain, directly applying healing properties where you need them the most. And best of all, you walk into the office and right out after treatment. No surgery, no downtime, and patients are raving about the results. So what does living life to the fullest look like for you? Finally, being able to play golf, hike, walk your dog, enjoy time with your family, whatever it is, don't wait one more day. Get started today with a call to QC Kinetics for your complimentary consultation at 864-448-3772 in Greenville and Asheville. 864-448-3772.
It's time to discover the convenience and time savings of contact-free pickup with Ingles Curbside. Just visit shop.ingles-markets.com or download the app. And your Ingles personal shopper gets to work with specialized training on how to select the freshest items for a pre-scheduled pickup. They'll even text you with updates. You pull up to a designated space and your personal shopper delivers your items right to your vehicle. Fresh, fast, and affordable. It's all in the bag. Ingles, low prices, love the savings.
Join us at Odyssey as we all do our one thing, together millions of things for our planet. When planning your summer vacation, pick a destination close to where you live to limit your use of fuel. When we each share our one thing, it becomes a million things for our planet. What's your one thing?
For adults with moderate to severe plaque psoriasis or candidates for systemic or phototherapy, now there's Skyrizi, risankizumab Riza, a prescription only 100.
So I saw you are taking a day. Is that only one day that you're taking?
Friday.
I'm off that week anyway. So
Next week?
no, next week is the following week.
No, I'm off this Friday.
So you took off the 9th.
So, I did take off the 9th too. Sorry, took off 2 days. Yeah.
All right. So you're off this week too.
I'm off this Friday and then the 9th.
That sucks. What? Because I enjoy having you here.
No, I was just trying to figure out why that sucks.
It's good for you. I mean,
it is good.
Yeah.
I'll be in Florida Friday, going down for the long weekend.
Okay.
Friday
Because of Memorial Day. Okay, that makes sense.
And then the 9th is the BMW Pro-Am, and Chris Lewis has us a luxury box on the 18th.
Sweet.
So I will be 1%ering it at a golf tournament that day.
I will be back from vacation, but not here, and binging all day playing Diablo 4. Can only be gone on vacation, gone from home for like 3 days. I'm ready to come home. The beds are never comfortable enough, and you spend way too much money, even when you try not to. The place we go is like renting a condo, so it has a full kitchen and everything.
Yep.
So we'll go get groceries and stuff. We always eat breakfast and usually lunch there, but then you're out and buying stuff all over the place that you don't normally see. I just got to make sure that I walk down to the open arcade. It's like open on two sides on the corner of the street. It's really cool. Got a bunch of old games. Put a quarter in. Sometimes it works. Sometimes it doesn't. Gable's in the first break.
Gable's in the first break.
Hey, look, there's a Deshaun Watson TikTok. Is that really him? I don't know.
numero dos of the Rob Brown Show goes now, ladies and gentlemen. This is the Fan Upstate. Welcome back, y'all. Rob and the Great One with you on the Weenus and Pitt Show. So glad to have you along for the ride. 844-326-3663. 844-326-3663 is the number if you'd like to be a part of the radio broadcast. That's the GilstrapFamilyDealerships.com phone line. You can also text us at 71307. Start your text with FAN, F-A-N, FAN, F-A-N, and we will read them on the air. You can also tweet us at The Rob Brown Show, at Lonzo on Word. All the different ways for you to get in touch with us here on the radio broadcast. So, let's start with this. And I'm really curious to hear what Zoe's got to say. The legendary James Brown, that would be JB, Jim, passed away this weekend. Jim Brown, born February 17th, 1936 on St. Simon's Island in Georgia, 87 years of age, passed away this past weekend. And for you youngins out there, and I will, listen, I have to acknowledge that Jim Brown was done in his career before I was not a glimmer in my father's eye, right? But if you get a chance, go to YouTube and you can watch Jim Brown run because there's a lot of archived footage on there of Jim Brown. Jim Brown was Superman, but he wore shoulder pads instead of a cape. Jim Brown was a phenomenal football player, a phenomenist. I mean, if anybody is a phenomenist, it was Jim Brown. Jim Brown was a phenomenal football player. Jim Brown was also a dude at a point in time where civil rights and football were butting heads with each other. Jim Brown was one of those guys that put up with a lot of boat that no man should ever have had to put up with and pushed through it to become that guy. He did it at Syracuse, where he was promised a full scholarship and he did not receive it after playing through. He played at Syracuse where he endured racist taunts throughout his entire career, where he was forced to be housed in a non-athletic dormitory, was warned against dating Caucasian women, where the coaching staff tried to put him in other positions because he was getting more glory as a running back than the white guys who played that position. And all he did was go on to become a consensus first-team All-American multiple years. Excel not just in football, but in basketball, in track, and lacrosse as well. All while graduating as a commissioned second lieutenant because he was a leader in the ROTC. And a guy who continued his military commitment as a member of the Army Reserve while he was also playing in the NFL, served 4 years, and was discharged with the rank of captain from the Army Reserve. In 57, went into the NFL draft, 6th overall selection. In the 9th game of his rookie season against the LA Rams, 237 yards rushing, setting an NFL single game record that stood unsurpassed for 14 years and a rookie record that remained intact for 40 years.
By the way, real quick, he retired before I was a glimmer too. So that's how long he retired. I looked it up, 66. So I wasn't even born yet.
Brown broke the single season rushing record in 1958. When he went for 1,527 yards. Oh, that's, by the way, in a 12-game schedule, not 16. Shattering the NFL's previous mark of just over 1,100 yards by Steve Van Buren back in 1949. In the MVP season, Brown led all players with 17 touchdowns scored. The next closest was Raymond Berry for the Colts, who had 8. After 9 years in the NFL, departed as the league's record holder for both single season yardage, 1863 in 1963, and career rushing yards, retired with 12,312 yards. He was also the all-time leader in rushing touchdowns with 106, total touchdowns with 126, all-purpose yards with 15,549. He was the first player to reach the 100 rushing touchdown milestone, and only a few others have done so since then. Keep in mind, that includes the 16 and 17 game schedules. Brown's first 4 in the league were only 12 games. His last 5 were only 14. Brown's record of scoring 100 touchdowns in only 93 games stood until LaDainian Tomlinson did it in 89 during the 2006 season. Brown holds the record for total seasons leading the NFL in all-purpose yards. He did it 5 times. He is the only rusher in NFL history to average over 100 yards per game for his career. In addition to his rushing, Brown was a superb receiver, catching 262 passes for 2,499 yards and 20 touchdowns. Also added another 628 yards returning kickoffs. Brown was voted into the Pro Bowl every season that he played, left the league in style, scoring 3 touchdowns in his final Pro Bowl game. Back in 1999, John Mackey said he got some advice from Jim Brown. He said, quote, he told me, make sure when anyone tackles you, he remembers how much it hurts, end quote. And you can sue that because Jimmy Brown ran angry. Of course, he would go on to have a Hollywood career as well. In 1964, began his acting career playing a Buffalo soldier in a Western action film called Rio Conchos. The film premiered at Cleveland's Hippodrome Theater on October 23rd with Brown and many of his teammates in attendance. The reaction was lukewarm, but it has become a cult classic since then. Brown was shooting his second film in 1966, The Dirty Dozen. Cast Brown as Robert Jefferson, one of 12 convicts sent to France during World War II to assassinate German officers meeting in a castle before the D-Day invasion. Jim Brown missed at least part of the first training camp on campus for the Browns. Art Modell threatened to fine him $1,500 for every week of camp he missed. Brown said that previously to the 66 season, it would be his last. It was the final year of a 3-year contract. So instead of accepting the fine, he went, nah, I'm good. Good luck, Cleveland. Good luck. Y'all need me more than I need you. I'm out. In 1968, Jim Brown was casted in his first lead role in a movie called The Spirit, based on a Parker novel by Donald E. Westlake. He was paid $125,000 for that role. He followed it in 1969 with Riot, a prison film for MGM. Both it and The Split were hits at the box office, and Jim Brown was credited by biographer Mike Freeman as becoming Hollywood's, quote, first black action star, end quote. He would go on in 68 to star as a Marine captain in the movie Ice Station Zebra, which I've never seen before, but I certainly am going to now.
What was the last part of that?
Ice Station Zebra? Zebra.
Okay. All right. So I didn't know if you did that on purpose or not. I just was.
Yeah, it's zebra.
I was trying to help you because like you say, Celtic. Okay.
Yeah, the rest of the world says zebra.
Okay. All right. Do they really?
Yeah. Everywhere but us says zebra.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. I learned something.
You sure did. Brown went to 20th Century Fox in 1969 for 100 Rivals, where he was billed over Raquel Welch and Burt Reynolds. Had a love scene with Raquel Welch in that movie, one of the first interracial love scenes and the first in a major Hollywood movie. Brown was paid $200,000 and 5% of the film's box, becoming one of the highest paid black actors at the time. His 1980s appearances were mostly in TV. He starred in Knight Rider in the season 3 premiere episode. He also played alongside Joe Namath in the A-Team. Brown also appeared on Chips. He was in Arnold Schwarzenegger's 1987 Running Man and had a cameo in I'm Gonna Get You, Sucker in 1988, a movie I've not heard of, but we'll watch now.
You have never seen
Never
I'm
heard
Gonna
of
Get
that
You.
movie.
It's yeah, you need to.
I'm Gonna Get You, Sucker. A 1988 American blaxploitation parody film directed and starring Keenan Ivory Wayans in his directorial debut. Jim Brown, Bertie Casey, Antonio Fargas, and Isaac Hayes in that movie.
It's one of those that
Chris Rock's in that movie.
it's like Hot Shots or Police Story or
Okay.
one of those where they over exaggerate everything.
I'm all in.
Yeah, I think Keenan has like people following him, so he has walk music everywhere he goes. It's pretty funny.
Now I gotta watch it. Brown appeared in 1996's Mars Attacks and Sucker Free City in 2004.
Do you remember him in Mars Attacks? He was the boxer.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Ack. Great all-time movies. Brown, of course, would go on and become a civil rights icon, one of the most prominent African-American athletes to engage in civil rights activism, and called on other black athletes to become involved in similar initiatives off the field. In 1967, Brown, alongside Bill Russell, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, and Carl Stokes, were all members of the Cleveland Summit, a meeting with Muhammad Ali held with the intention of convincing the four to rally behind and recruit others to help Ali's cause of civil rights in the United States. This actually helped to resuscitate the career of Muhammad Ali, who had at the time kind of become a bit of a pariah due to his opposition to the Vietnam War and his refusal to enter the draft. His boxing license had been revoked. He faced up to 5 years in prison. JB, Kareem, and Carl Stokes all put their reputations and careers at risk to help out Muhammad Ali, and Muhammad Ali basically was able to get back into the public eye because of that. The Cleveland Summit was later called a significant turning point for the role of athletes in society and, quote, one of the most important civil rights acts in sports history. And, of course, Jim Brown had many appearances after that in the civil rights movement throughout his lifetime. Jim Brown's a legend, dude. In every sense of the word, Jim Brown is a legend.
And see, I know him more from his movies because, again, he was done before I was born. And it's one of those things where if you say you don't know him from football, I think it's frowned upon a little bit. But it's like, I don't know Wilt Chamberlain. I didn't get to see Wilt Chamberlain play. I know all the things he did. I didn't get to see Newt Rockne play. Okay, it's in the same thing, or John Heisman, or whatever. But I did get to see him in movies, and you mentioned the Dirty Dozen, you mentioned Mars Attacks. There's I'm Gonna Get You, Sucker. There's some things that I saw him in that I really enjoyed, and I know about the activism, but I didn't know him as a player. You watch highlights and you see that's the kind of running back you want on your team, though.
Jim Brown was a dude.
If I recall, and I could be recalling wrong, but I think Barry Sanders was compared to him a lot.
I think Barry Sanders was compared to him in the importance Barry Sanders had to his squad. But if you go back, and again, if you have not done this, I highly encourage you to do it. Go to YouTube, type in Jim Brown, and just watch Jim Brown run. Jim Brown ran like everybody in the stadium owed him money. In fact, I'm watching right now on the Cleveland Browns YouTube site, Jim Brown's top 5 runs. And I will say this about Jim Brown as a runner. I get the Barry Sanders comparisons, Lonzo, because hitting Jim Brown didn't mean you were bringing Jim Brown down.
Exactly.
Hitting Jim Brown did nothing. It slowed him up for a second. You better have like 2, 3, 4 of the dudes coming to knock down Jim Brown. Because if you weren't bringing the cavalry after Jim Brown, you weren't stopping him. I'm watching back some of his runs, his top 5 runs according to the Cleveland Browns. Back in the old double set, double wishbone jump. We would call it a jumbo set now. You know what they called it in 1965? Third down. Double wing, double tight, double running back, hand it to Jim Brown, and if the defense didn't call in the friggin' army, you weren't tackling him. I'm watching Jim Brown run with the football, one-handed, right? Something that we would admonish young football players from doing nowadays. You know why Jim Brown could carry the ball with one hand, Lonzo? Because nobody could touch him. Nobody could touch him. I'm watching him take passes out of the backfield, get up the field, and he's just – the first 3 guys that came after him, he'd go from 60 to 0 to 60 in 2 steps. And guys are just flying by, missing him like a damn comedy sketch. And then I'm watching him get into the second line, and defensive backs are hitting and bouncing off of him like he's one of those big concrete pillars at the front of the grocery store, just down. And guy's unbelievable. So if you haven't done it before, go to YouTube and watch Jim Brown run. It's I don't know. Joey B says, closest modern comparison to Jim Brown is Eric Dickerson or prime Adrian Peterson. I would say Adrian Peterson is in my generation's.
Yeah, Dickerson bugged me the way he ran. And I don't know. It's just kind of, it just seems so stiff. No, it worked. Obviously it worked, but I like my running back to be a little more fluid. To him, it was somewhere in between fluid and
but I think a lot of that's got to do with the day and age.
Could have been the neck roll too. The neck roll just kind of
the cowboy collar.
Yeah, the neck roll just throws you off.
I think a lot of that has to do with just the way we view football now, right? But I think running back now, how many bruising running backs are there today? 2, 3, 4, maybe. Like, who would you say is today's most physical bruising running back?
The king when he's healthy.
Derrick Henry.
Yeah.
That might be the list, right? I mean, he is certainly top of the list. But who's the most bruising running back today?
A few years ago, it would have been, I'm just here so I don't get fined.
Marshawn is a fine pick. See what it is. He's a fine.
I got it.
Okay. Peyton Hillis back in the day for Cleveland would have gone on that list.
Tom Rathman.
Oof.
Who was the guy in Tampa Bay?
Mike Allstott.
Yeah, there we go. Allstott.
Listen, I hated Mike Allstott because Mike Allstott would just run track meets in New Orleans and like the cops couldn't stop Mike Allstott. So while we're talking about this, I went and I looked at bruising running backs. Because like we said, Jim Brown said, if a dude's going to tackle you, make him remember it via pain, right? Like I want him waking up the next day looking for an ice pack and going, Jim Brown did that to me. I'm looking down the NFL.com list of the most bruising running backs. Here's what they got on the list. Tank Younger, who played back in the 60s. The Fridge. The Bus.
Yeah, can you put the Fridge in there, though? I mean, because he wasn't a full-time running back.
No, he's a lineman. Jerome Bettis.
Definitely Bettis, though.
Natrone Means from the Chargers run back in the early 90s.
Yeah, couldn't stand that guy.
Didn't he play for he played for the Jags when the Jags made their Super Bowl run? Didn't he? I think he did. Or the AFC Championship run, one or the other. Back when they were good. They put Eddie George on this list. Does Eddie George go on this list?
Yeah, especially early Eddie George.
Yeah.
Before he started getting all the injuries
Fair.
And started slowing down. Yeah, for sure.
They got Eric Dickerson on the list. They got William Andrews, Christian Okoye. Who was Mike
The
Allstott
Nigerian
before
Nightmare.
Mike Allstott was Mike Allstott?
Yes. That was a big dude.
He
Too.
was a big dude. They got John Riggins, Larry Zonka, Bo Jackson,
Yeah,
Marlon Motley, Walter Payton, and Earl Campbell on the list.
Yeah, Riggins for sure, because for some reason the camera angles were always perfect to just show his face as he's initiating contact. And that dude, you could just, even though there's this kind of smug, not smug, but nothing there in his eyes, you could see the joy when he hit that first guy, or that first guy supposedly hit him.
So who else would go on the list? Because I think Jim Brown, I would absolutely classify as a bruiser, right?
See,
Guy had moves, but he was a bruiser.
Modern day, that's not what they want. They want the fast, elusive guy who can hit the edge and who can catch the ball. That's who they want right now.
Yeah. I mean,
I think those guys are playing linebacker right now. They're not playing running back.
I think you're right. It's just not the style anymore. Speed wins now. Texas says Christian Okoye was hell on wheels in the original Tecmo Bowl. Yes, he was. Texter says Earl Campbell. Another texter says Steven Davis. One texter says Jim Brown was good, but all the players sucked back then. Yeah, but here's the thing. Players in the now day and age could look at players in the 90s and be like, they sucked. And players in the 90s could look at the players in the 70s and say they suck. We are constantly making bigger, better, faster, stronger athletes, both through genetics, natural selection, and the science we put into sport. There's more science going into building bigger, better, stronger, faster professional athletes than like solving world hunger at this point. Right? So we are constantly building bigger, faster, better, stronger athletes. But here's the thing. You can only compare a dude to what the dude did against the best athletes of the time. And you know what Jim Brown did to the best athletes of the time? Embarrass them. If you lined up at him, he ran through you. If you lined up around him, he made you look silly running around you. Young Guns. Go grab the YouTubes and watch Jim Brown run. That's the start of what turned into LaDainian Tomlinson. What turned into the cats that are out there today. R.I.P. Jim Brown, an absolute legend. Let's take a break. We'll come back here in just a minute. My name is Rob. The Great One Lonzo is at the helm, and you're listening to The Rob Brown Show on the Fan Upstate.
Gables.
Which one?
Gables.
Okay. Right back, guys. Got a live read. Stay right there. All right, ladies and gents, we're back.
With Mark Ryan and Diesel, we'll get you set for baseball regional week, softball regional, super regionals. Which South Carolina teams are going to advance all the way to their respective World Series, onsides and offsides, a new look at who might disappoint from the NFL draft, and so much more.
Number one for real afternoon sports talk.
Glad I'm really tired today. Looks like I'm going to end up having to work 7 hours or 11 hours. Joy.
The Rob Brown Show back on your radio. It is the Fan Upstate, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Rob Brown. The great one, Lonzo, is on the other side of the metaphorical glass this AM, in charge of the radio broadcast. I have stayed away, and I'm going to bring this up real quick because it's a somewhat short segment here as we get back on the clock. I'm going to bring it up. I have avoided it so far because I don't know how big of a deal this is. Y'all, the horse racing stuff's got to stop. All right? It's got to stop. It's either got to stop or we got to do something different. Having a meltdown, a 3-year-old horse was set to run at the Preakness Stakes.
So the name of the horse was having a meltdown. Okay.
Was the name of the horse. Having a Meltdown was trained by the formerly suspended Bob Baffert. And Having a Meltdown was running in the Chick Lang Stakes, the 6th race of the day. Final race of the day, horse stumbled on the final turn. The jockey was thrown from the horse. Having a Meltdown continued on the track, but was visibly hurt, stopped on the home stretch, received medical attention. They put the horse down on the track. They brought out some big black tarps. They surrounded the horse. They had to put the horse down. This is now, I've lost track at how many horses have died. 7, let's see here. Here's the number according to Yahoo Sports. 7 died at Churchill Downs in the lead up to the Derby. 1 more died a week later. 37 horses died at Santa Anita over the course of the year back in 2019. I'm sure that there have been plenty more at smaller scale races that we have not heard about. But we're looking at, over the last 3 years, getting to well up over 100 horses that have been put down for horse racing. Like, it's got to stop at this point. I try to keep, for the most part, my bleeding heart tendencies off the radio. I try, for the most part, not to invoke the name of Liberob, the woke warrior, until it becomes effectively unavoidable. Y'all aren't so entertained by horse racing that we should be fine with threatening 35 horses a year, with subjecting upwards of 35 horses a year to death. For what? For what? For the entertainment of a handful of rich people, and for you guys to pretend for 15 cumulative minutes a year that you care about horse racing. There's no other sport here. And before you hit me with, well, Rob, they're just horses. Yeah, they're just horses. They're just living, breathing creatures who cannot consent to what they're being trained, raised, bred to do, and are being massacred at tracks around the country. And again, for what? For what? I don't understand it. And I'm first in line to say, just because I don't understand something, that doesn't make it bad. There's a lot of things a lot of people do that I don't understand, but it ain't my life, so it ain't my business. I don't understand swingers, but hey, if that's how you get your jollies, live your best life. I'm not in a position to judge it. Do your thing. That ceases when there's active harm being involved. And yes, it has gotten to the point of ridiculousness. Y'all, they just killed this horse in front of a racetrack full of people. And then you know what they did? They brought out a truck. They crammed the horse, the dead horse, into the back of it. They got it off the track so that they could run the next one. While the horse is on the track being euthanized for a broken leg that was completely unnecessary, the DJ is still bumping tracks on the loudspeakers. All this horse knows is its entire life, it had been forced to run, not when it wanted to run, but when people with switches started hitting it, telling it to run. It was doing what it was only allowed to do in running when it got hurt. It then laid on a track surrounded by weird people and big black tarps, unable to see anything in the world around it, listening to annoying bump music playing over the loudspeakers, and then it died. Why? Why? Nobody cares. It is a sport that is actively harming double-digit horses every single year for the betterment of the freaking bank accounts of a bunch of rich buttholes. That's it. That's all it is. Sacrifices must be made. Nah. You know what I would be more entertained by? Hey, rich guys, if it matters so much to you, get in on track and field. Get in on actual athletes who want to do this, who train to do this, and who, if they're running and they break their leg, we don't go out there and shoot them in the middle of the racetrack. We don't go out there, surround them with a black tarp, and end their life in front of a few thousand screaming fans, and then clear their dead body off the track so that the next group can run it. You want to invest that much money into this? Then invest it into people. Invest it into track and field. That's a wonderful segment of sports filled with some of the world's best athletes that is constantly underfunded with major events that take place all the time. And guess what? You can bet on that just like you can the ponies. Rob, my great-great-grandfather used to go. I don't care. I don't care. I don't care that it's an American tradition. I don't care. It is something that the rich people who run it have dressed up as this wonderful American tradition so that they can keep euthanizing dozens of horses every year. For what? For their what? For what? For what? What's the purpose? What's the point? There's not one. If you care that much, invest it back into people athletes. You know why the horses are easier? Because you get to keep all the purse and you don't have to pay the horse. That's it. That's the reason. You don't have to pay the horse. Well, Rob, they pay all this money for training. I don't know. Shut up. You don't have to pay the horse. You get to keep the money. And if the horse gets hurt, you just shoot it and buy a new horse. It's pathetic. It's pathetic. It's dumb. It should be gotten rid of. There's no need for it anymore. And this is the part that I find the worst. They surround this poor animal with black tarp so that nobody has to be subjected to the reality of what you have caused by putting these animals out there. Yes, they're horses. They're evolved to run. Yeah, it happens in the wild. It sucks. Nature is metal, dude. But these animals are subjected to this, and then they put up a black tarp so that nobody who is involved in horse racing has to see the consequences of a stupid-ass sport. I hate even calling it a sport. It's not a sport. Stop. Stop. I am tired of every day when I'm doing my show prep, reading another story about another dead horse that they cram into the back of a pickup truck and get them off the track so the next horses can come out and run. So that the handful of dozen people who are invested in this can keep making money and y'all can pretend like it's some great American tradition. No, it's not. No, it's not. It's obnoxious, it's stupid, it's inconsequential, it's ridiculous. You want to get involved in racing? That's awesome. You don't want to watch people run? Fine. Jump in on NASCAR, jump in on F1, jump in on IndyCar, jump in on GT racing. Jump in on any of the racing that people do, that people willingly sign up for and go, hey, I understand the risk. If I hit the wall at 200 miles an hour, I might die. That's their decision. Don't want it to happen. These sports are doing a wonderful job continuing to upgrade safety measures so that it doesn't happen. But those guys and those gals know that risk when they sign up for it, when they get involved. That's their decision. These horses are being put down on the track for something they have nothing to do with. Why? For the benefit of a handful of rich people. As Joey B said on the stream, they die so Brenda Lee can have her 11th cocktail of the day and pretend she doesn't hate her degenerate gambler husband. As a degenerate and a gambler, get rid of horse racing. I have never bet on a horse, and I'm not going to start now. I am not going to be tied into this, man. I'm not. Texter said, Rob, thanks for the perspective. It's no better than cockfighting. Horse racing should be abolished. Yeah. Texter said, and on tomorrow's Liberob segment, greyhound racing. Yeah, get rid of it too. We breed countless dogs to run them at the track for a year or two, and then when they're not fast anymore, you know what happens to the greyhounds? They either get put down or they get put into shelters where more of them get put down and a few lucky ones get adopted out and get to live out life. Why? See, the point that you don't like about it is that you like all the fun. We like the races. We like the gambling. That's great. You don't like the consequences because you recognize in your heart that it's bad. You recognize in your heart that we're wiping out thousands of animals a year between these two sports for what? So that you can go have a mint julep and put on a stupid hat and a stupid jacket and pretend like you're rich for a minute. You're not, and you're never going to be, and you certainly aren't going to be from doing this. You're not. It's track owners. It's breeders who make all the money, who don't give a damn about the well-being of these animals at all. They celebrate the winner. Yeah, they celebrate the winners because they made them money. Are we celebrating the 40 animals that have been killed in horse racing so that we all watched the Derby 2 weeks ago and pretend like horse racing, I love it. No, you don't. Shut up. Shut up. A tenth of you that watched the Derby watched the Preakness, and the only way that any of you are watching whatever the third race in the Triple Crown is if a horse won the first two, but it didn't. The horse that won the Derby did not win the Preakness, which means none of you are turning in for, what's the last one? Chapel Downs, Kentucky Downs, Bourbon Downs, whatever it's called. None of y'all are watching it because you don't care. You never have. You never will. Stop. It's obnoxious. All right? Texas said, LOL, Liberob. No, just kidding. It's ridiculous. Just murdered a 600-pound animal for a broken leg. Yeah. It didn't need to happen. It's stupid. Stop pretending you care. You don't. Let's take a break. I'm going to go calm my bleeding heart down. When we come back, we'll talk some NFL. What quarterback that's a rookie this year has the best chance of having a season of success? What about a career that is successful? We'll address that and more coming up on the Rob Brown Show on the Fan Upstate.
Here's the sports flash on the Fan Upstate.
That's got a chance. Pollock on the run. That ball is gone. Home run. Travis Darno, his first of the year. 3-1 Atlanta.
The action on the Braves Radio Network, 3-2 win over the Mariners on Sunday. Rookie Jared Schuster held the Mariners to just one hit. He struck out 7 with a walk in his 4th career start. Catcher Travis Darno had a pair of hits for Atlanta, including his first homer of the season. The NL East leading Braves are set for a series against the NL West leading Dodgers. That starts tonight. 5-3 ready Charlie Morton starts for the Braves. They'll take on Dodgers ready Gavin Stone. Stanley
a podcast about falling in love with music. I started a nonprofit music school about 20 years ago called the Silver Lake Conservatory of Music. The reason that I started doing this podcast was music education. I'll be speaking with Rick Rubin, Thundercat, Stuart Copeland, Margot Craig, Corey Henry, Cynthia Arrivo, Sheila E., and Patty Smith.
Please listen and follow This Little Light, a presentation of Cadence 13 on the Odyssey app or wherever you get your podcasts.
Hi, it's Rivers, the owner of Mr. Sparky of the Upstate. At Mr. Sparky, we offer straightforward pricing, giving you options and solutions to the electrical issues you're facing. Plus, safe checks during every visit, membership plans, and in most cases, same-day service. The next time you need an electrician, go to MrSparkyoftheUpstate.com. Remember, MrSparkyoftheUpstate.com.
You don't have to put up with any malarkey. Call 888-8-SPARKY.
Hello, I'm Howard Mackler, founder of Innovation Refunds. You've heard me talking about the payroll tax refund for months. I'm so proud that we've helped over 15,000 businesses claim over $5 billion in cash incentives. If you own a business, even if you've asked your CPA about this, you owe it to yourself to take another look. Every client is assigned a licensed and insured tax attorney who evaluates your company at my expense to accurately determine eligibility. Innovation Refunds has hundreds of 5-star reviews on Trustpilot and Google, and your business might be entitled to receive up to $26,000 per employee. Businesses of all types can qualify, including medical, professional, construction, even nonprofits. Please don't miss out on this. Even your
Correct. Another sport that I don't give a damn about your tradition. I don't give a damn about your history. I don't. Never have and never will. Could care less about any of it.
Get your vehicle ready for spring during Clean Car Month at O'Reilly Auto Parts. Pro X1 exterior cleaning and detailing products provide professional results and show quality shine for your vehicle. Right now, pick up Pro X1 Snow Cone Car Wash 2 for just $15. See store for details. Pro X1 exclusively at your local O'Reilly Auto Parts or O'ReillyAuto.com.
Auto Parts.
Summer's heating things up, outside and on the grill. Whether you're smoking a brisket or grilling up veggies, Kingsford Original Charcoal delivers the consistent performance and smoky wood-fired flavor barbecuers crave. Kingsford Original lights faster and has a long burn time, giving you the ultimate grilling experience. So grab a bag of Kingsford Original Charcoal. Kingsford.com. Kingsford Original Charcoal lights faster and delivers consistent performance compared to nationally available charcoal in the USA.
From the Ingalls Market Studio,
Upstate, 97.7 FM Greenville, 97.1 FM Spartanburg.
from the Free Odyssey app.
CBS Sports Radio.
Always streaming wherever you are on the Odyssey app.
Texture said, yeah, you're right, Rob. Get rid of football, boxing, and everything else. No. Tell me you don't understand the concept of consent without telling me you don't understand what that word means. Those athletes elect to participate. They actively decide to. I don't know what else there is or what else needs to be said about it. All right? I just don't. All right, 844-326-3663. That, of course, is the GoStrapFamilyDealerships.com phone line. If you want to get on the air with us, you can do it. 71307. 71307 is the text number. Start your text with FAN, F-A-N, FAN, F-A-N, and we will read them on the air. Stop with your text about cheeseburgers and steaks. It's not the gotcha that you think it is. Creation of food is a necessary evil. We eat meat. We are carnivores. As long as those animals are not being unethically butchered, then it is what it is. The horses aren't being killed to eat because humans require food to live. They're being killed for a few rich guys to make some more money. There's a difference. Not the gotcha that you think it is. It's not. All right. Let's get away from that. We'll do the NFL quarterback thing, but we're a little bit off the clock, and I don't want to shortchange us. So we'll come back to that later on in the radio broadcast, probably start of the next hour.
By the way, I don't know if you saw this, but there's a bunch of video out there of some short guy behind a bunch of tall guys throwing the ball in Charlotte. And looks pretty good. I mean, you know.
Listen, it has been nothing but positive reviews about BY.
It would seem, and a lot of people are reporting this because apparently there are a lot of people that are filming, that Bryce Young is getting more reps than Andy Dalton.
Oh, I'm not shocked. I think they both know what this is, right? They know Andy Dalton knows where he is. Andy Dalton's a bridge quarterback. And Andy Dalton knows he's a bridge quarterback. The only thing Andy Dalton does not know is the same thing that we don't know, which is how long that bridge is. That bridge may be crossed and burnt before week 1. It may be crossed and burnt after week 1. It may be week 3. It may be week 5, week 10. Like I mentioned, there's a bunch of variables that go into that decision that we can't know until the season starts. If the Panthers come out of the gate 0-2 and the Saints or the Falcons go 2-0 to open the year, and Carolina finds themselves 2 games back before they get their first dub, that might be the trigger to put him in.
Well, I know we're going to talk about this, but I've seen several lists just today of people picking the Panthers dead last in the South. So does stuff like that hasten? I doubt it does, but could it hasten his being put into the starting lineup? He's going to win this job. I don't think Andy Dalton starts the season. I think Bryce Young is the game 1 starter.
I'm going to go with,
because it's about being a student of the game, supposedly being smart enough to grasp the thing. And from what we understand, because it's been everywhere, he's pretty smart. So if he grasps the playbook, he's going to be starting very first game.
I like to believe that, because if you're going 5-9 and you're winning Heisman's, Natties, being drafted number 1 overall, it means you're either the most elite 5'9" athlete of all time, or you get it. It clicks. You know the right throw, when to make it, how to make it, and you can make it. And that seems to be the case with BY. I do not think Sports Illustrated picking Carolina to finish last in the division. Spoiler alert, they're not going to. But I don't think preseason prognostications are going to be what BY gets to plug him in at number 1 for week 1. I think that's going to be just going out and being a better quarterback than Andy Dalton. But like I said, I think number 1, I think a lot of people are misgauging what Andy Dalton is as a quarterback. As we mentioned a number of times, as I have mentioned a number of times, keep in mind, Andy Dalton was 2 defensive collapses by New Orleans away from being a division-winning starter last year. In a bad division, but a division-winning starter nonetheless last year. And BY's never played a snap of NFL football, right? He might turn out to be a stud. but he hadn't done it yet. So I still think Andy Dalton's your starter week 1. I would not put money on him being the starter week 2. But I also think, like I said, there's a lot of other variables. If Carolina, New Orleans, Atlanta are all 1-0 after week 1, well, it can't be because Carolina and Atlanta play. If Carolina wins week 1 with Andy Dalton, you can put BY off a little bit more. Give him more time. Let him learn. Like I said, it's not just about learning football. It's about learning about life on the road as an NFL quarterback. Plane trips, hotels, Monday Night Football coming into town, all the extra work that goes into meeting with the production crew of M&F, et cetera, et cetera. Let him learn the speed of the game off the field without having to be carried by or saddled by the burden of being an NFL starter. All right, we're going to talk about that coming up in the next hour of the show. We'll get back to the NBA and the NHL as well. Stanley Cup playoffs are every bit as good as I wanted them to be, even with Carolina already on the ropes. They are 0-2 at the house in the conference in the conference finals. And Dallas, 0-2 to Vegas. They get to go back home, though. Carolina's now got to go on the road down to Miami. So how do those shape up and more? All that's coming up on the Rob Brown Show and the Fan Upstate.
Discovered Babbel. Babbel's lessons are fun. They only take like 10 or 15 minutes, and in 3 weeks, presto, you're starting to speak another language, like magic.
I love that Babbel's lessons aren't just robots talking. They're voiced by native speakers, so you get the pronunciation just right. And they're designed by real language teachers, so you learn how to have real-world conversations, things you'll actually use.
It's incredible. After using Babbel, I'm ready to start having real conversation in French.
There's all kinds of ways to learn. Use Babbel's podcasts or games or videos. You can even join live classes with a language teacher.
If you want to learn a language, there's no faster, easier, better way than
Babbel.
Babbel.
Babbel, évidemment. Go to Babbel.com to try for free. That's Babbel.com. Babbel.com.
Want to quickly become Dad's favorite? Get him what he really wants for Father's Day. The Upstate Golf Cart. 18 holes at 9 of the best courses in the Upstate. The Preserve at Verde, the Club at Brookstone, Carolina Springs, The Rock, Greer Golf, Rolling Green, just to name a few. And best of all, now through Father's Day, the Upstate Golf Cart is on sale. 1 for $75 and 2 for $125. Get your dad one today at upstategolfcart.com. That's upstategolfcart.com.
Offsides is on the road again. Join Mark Ryan with Offsides this Wednesday from 3 till 7 at Ingles Markets in Spartanburg, 8650 Astro Highway. Mark's giving away a $25 Ingles gift card. We'll see you there.
Kickstart summer savings now at the Home Depot. Get the yard in top shape for another season of doing with a Ryobi walk-behind mower for $349 only at the Home Depot. Featuring 40-volt battery compatibility for gas-like power to get the whole lawn looking fresh in just one charge. Plus, the 3-in-1 mowing function provides mulching, bagging, and side discharge capabilities right out of the box. Make your summer yard shine. Shop Ryobi walk-behind mowers for just $349 at the Home Depot. How doers get more done.
I switched to Boost Mobile and got a free Samsung Galaxy A23 5G phone. Want to know the best part?
It was free?
Nope.
The fact that it's on America's largest 5G networks?
Nope. It's the ding.
Oh yeah, love the ding.
Right? It's all about the ding. It's the dingarooski, the dingaroner. Ring-a-ding.
Unleash your power to save with Boost. Get a free Samsung Galaxy A23 5G phone when you switch. Boost Mobile. Unleash your power.
And the ding.
Limited time offer. New customers only. Available on select networks. 5G not available everywhere. One device per month. Tax excluded. Additional restrictions apply. See your local Boost Mobile store for details.
The Rob Brown Show, now 19.
So let me get Rick in here. Rick, it's all yours, big dog. What you got?
I love your program. Let me tell you, you and Lonzo do a great job. You're the reason I listen to sports radio. I met you at Midtown with the Hackett's.
Yeah.
And let me tell you, I've never listened to high school football. I listened to high school football and you did a great job on the Verge podcast.
Thank you, man. Appreciate that.
Got into high school football because of you. Thanks.
By the way, Rick,
I do apologize. I cannot afford to pay you for this endorsement, but it is appreciated.
And do me a favor. Come on, he's doing a great job too. Just show a little bit better. Okay. Don't tell him that. Okay.
I won't. You only told everyone listening in the upstate, but we'll keep it a secret between us, buddy.
Yeah, thanks. And keep doing a good job. Okay?
You got it, Rick. Thank you, man. Appreciate that. Very kind of you.
Yeah, like I'm leaving that part out of the promo.
Same great show, new time.
The Rob Brown Show.
Now 19 noon, only on the Fan, Upstate. Now CBS Sports Radio.
The Fan Upstate. Here's how to get in the game. On your radio at 97.7 FM, 1330 AM, Greenville. 97.1 FM, 950 AM, Spartanburg.
Listen on your phone, download the Odyssey app, and search the Fan Upstate.
There's a whole lot more to know about sound if you really want to go into the subject.
Your smart speaker. Just say play 97 The Fan Upstate. On your HD radio at WFBC HD3. There's just one more thing. And on your computer at
thefanupstate.com.
Mark Ryan tells it like it is.
Would Dabo Swinney rather lose doing it his way or now win doing it the required way? Look, I agree with Dabo about wanting what's best for the sport, but you are not going to win in this sport if you're not involved with name, image, and likeness, if you fail to utilize the transfer portal, if you avoid hiring the best possible coaches and instead hire your boys because we're close, our families are close, and they've deserved it, and you're finally beginning to see all of this catch up with Dabo. Clemson ends their season 11-0 against the Group of Five, the FCS, and the All Cupcakes Conference, and a record of 0-3 against everybody else.
Number one for real afternoon sports talk.
Offsides with Mark Ryan.
3 to 7 on the Fan.
Upstate. Upstate. WORD Spartanburg.
WIBC HD3, the official sports voice of the Upstate Fan.
QC in the next break.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Skrilla. You are a legend, buddy. I appreciate it.
Manufactured locally for the Carolinas. This is the Rob Brown Show. Only
The Fan Upstate.
The third, the final, the best, the money hour of the Rob Brown Show starts now. This, ladies and gentlemen, is the Fan Upstate. Lonzo, I have a potential situation that I got to tell you about real quick.
Lay it on me.
I certainly will. I was doing the show on Saturday. That, of course, would be Bet for the Cycle. It is the nation's best baseball gambling show. It is hosted by yours truly. It is hosted by former Major League Baseball player Cody Decker. And it is produced by everybody's favorite Hate-Ass Mario. And Cody decided to bring up a discussion point that I went off the deep end just a little. There is a relatively popular podcast called Foul Territory. Foul Territory is a podcast that talks baseball, and they rotate through guest hosts, most of whom are former Major League Baseball players. Now, it's not the most popular pod in the world. On Twitter, it's sitting on about 6,200 followers right now, but it's got some level of following. AJ Przinsky and Jason Kipnis, who is a former Major League Baseball player, were hosting the show, and they were talking about the New York Mets. Now, the New York Mets, of course, are in the National League East. They're a team I'm very familiar with as they are a direct rival of your Atlanta Braves. They are also a team right now 5 games back of the ATL in the NL East. Jason Kipnis was hosting this show, and he got asked about the Mets because the Mets are a big spending team this year. They put a lot of money onto the payroll with the expectation of being very good. And the Mets aren't bad. They have just gotten back up over 500. They're at 25-23. They are 7-3 in their last 10, and they've made up a little bit of ground on the Bravos, who are 4-6 in their last 10. But they're not where they expected to be. They expected to be closer to that 29-17 mark that Atlanta is sitting on right now, if not better. So Jason Kipnis, former player, was asked, what's going on with this team? Why aren't they better? And Kipnis said, all those veterans and no leadership. And that's fine, right? That's fine. I think anybody who's been in this line of business has at some point said, this team lacks leadership. Lonzo, you've probably said that about a team before.
I'm sure I have.
Yeah.
Yes.
We've all said at some point, this team lacks leadership. And that's fine. AJ Przinsky then asked him, you played with Francisco Lindor. Was he a leader? Now, at the very end of the career of Jason Kipnis and the beginning of the career of Francisco Lindor, they played together in Cleveland. Lindor said, I'm going to repeat it again. All those veterans and no leadership. He basically said, yeah, Francisco Lindor's not a leader. Now, I don't really even have a problem with that. That's fine. If you want to call a guy out, if you want to call out one guy and say that guy's got no leadership, I'm good with that. But I do expect you to stand by that comment. Jason Kipnis did not. Francisco Lindor was asked about former teammate Jason Kipnis's comments, and he said, quote, I haven't talked to him. That's how he feels, and it is what it is. Yeah, that's all. I don't really have much to say. That's a fine response from Francisco Lindor, is it not?
Yeah, highbrow.
Yeah.
I mean, just move on. Yeah.
Yeah. I got nothing to say. I'm not going to respond to it. I'm good. That's fine from Francisco Lindor. In fact, I would even go so far as to say that's the response of a leader. I'm not really worried what you have to say, Kip, because you are not on this team. You're not in this clubhouse. You're not a guy looking to me for leadership. So I'm not really worried if you think I'm a leader or not. Well, Francisco Lindor's wife, Katya Lindor, got into the discussion. She reposted the comments of Kipnis in a tweet. And in that tweet, she said, quote, my husband is such a classy person. He would never say what a bully Kipnis was in the clubhouse. Sounds like a true leader versus the opposite of a leader. Shrug emoji. Now, let me make one thing abundantly clear here. And I told this to Cody Decker on Saturday. Wives, girlfriends, family members, kids, they're all off limits when it comes to criticism, right? Unless and until they inject themselves into the conversation. I'll give you an example. See how Lonzo feels about it. Brittany Mahomes. If you, over the past handful of years, have criticized Brittany Mahomes, you were wrong about it. But over the past year to year and a half, Brittany Mahomes has, via TikTok, via her relationship with Jackson Mahomes, Patrick's little brother, who can't stop bringing negative attention on himself, and with the criticism of Chiefs fans who were upset at her for spraying champagne out into the crowd from her box suite on them, along with her coming publicly to the defense of Patrick Mahomes when he's been criticized. Brittany Mahomes has entered the arena. And once you enter the arena as a consenting adult, you are not immune to being criticized as well. Katia entered the arena in defense of Francisco Lindor. A fine move. I appreciate the hell out of a woman who, pardon the pun, goes to bat for her guy. I respect that. I think every king should be looking for a queen who will ride side with him. I'm good with that. But then Jason Kipnis started backing off. Then Jason Kipnis said, quote, I said what I said. We'll move on because I don't have the energy nor the want to for Twitter back and forth. Also, Frankie wasn't expected to be a leader when he was young. I bet he's grown into a damn good one. We're just talking about bleep because they're not winning like they can. End quote. No, Jason Kipnis. Don't say something negative and derogatory about a player and then back down when you're called onto the carpet for saying it. Either stand by what you said or get the hell off the podcast. But don't jump on the air, get all the attention for yourself, get all the Twitter followers, all the retweets, all the hype, all the headlines, and then when you get called to the carpet for saying something silly, then to just immediately go, no, I'm actually a good person. No, I'm actually a good person. And what I said was, no, it wasn't misconstrued. You had an opportunity at the time to sharpen that thought, to back off that thought, to retract that thought, to go, yeah, okay, Lindor was, in fairness, a young player when we played together, so maybe I shouldn't be talking about the fact that he wasn't a leader then and he's not a leader now. You had all the opportunity in the world.
All right, I applaud him for backing off, and here's the reason why. If he was still going back and forth with the other player, I bet he doesn't back off. But as soon as a family member gets involved, he's backing off because he doesn't want to go at the family member for all the things that you mentioned earlier. I know you say they're fair game once they inject themselves, but it's still someone's wife, and he's not going to go at my dude's wife. He's just, if it was just them two going back and forth, bet he doesn't back off. But because the wife got in there, he's trying to stay away from that, because then it gets extremely personal. It's not a player versus player. Now you're bringing in the family, and she brought herself into it. But still, she brought herself into it, and now he's backing away because that's when things really get heated, when the wife or the mom or whatever gets involved. You say something back, then bad blood really starts to exist, where there probably wasn't a whole lot in the first place.
So I get it.
Am I saying that the wife could jump in and say whatever she wants? No. But in his case, I'm guessing he backed off because the wife got involved and he didn't want to go at the wife.
So I'm going to address this from both angles. And I'll start with that side of it. When I started dating the fiance, the lady friend, we had a couple of conversations about how her life was going to be impacted by mine out of the gate. And there were two things I brought to the forefront. Number one, I watch a lot of sports. Whatever you think a lot of sports is, I want you to triple it and then triple that. And that's closer to the correct amount of sports. It's always sports in my life. It's my career. And I like my career and I'd like to stay into it. So I watch all the sports. So if me staying home and watching sports 5 out of 7 nights a week is going to be a deal breaker, you need to call it off now. And that's okay. I'll understand, but it is my career, my life. And the second thing that I told her, as I've told every woman I've ever dated, the second thing that I told her was, Lonzo, this is the most shocking thing about me, but some people don't like me. It's not many of them, but some people don't like me. Some people think that I'm obnoxious. They think that I'm annoying. They think that I'm too much. Some people think I'm a bad influence. And those people have zero problem telling me that, predominantly on social media. But it's not uncommon for people to tell me to my face in a public setting, I don't like you. I don't like your show. You're obnoxious. You're a jerk. You're wrong. You're conceited. You're this, you're that, whatever. And the reaction from me, most of the time, is to try to handle it the way that Francisco Lindor handled it. Unless you are the guy who signs my paycheck or the woman that I lay down next to at night, I don't really care, right? And I told her, while I appreciate that that you are a ride or die, while I appreciate that my woman gives me hell all the time, it's like the Southeastern Conference. I will give you hell all the time.
I don't know if she will like being compared to the Southeast
Let me finish
Conference.
I think it's a compliment.
Okay, all right.
It's a compliment. It's like the SEC. They give each other crap all the time. But the minute that an ACC fan lobs a joke at the SEC team, what happens? SEC, SEC, SEC. The chant starts, right? I appreciate you give me hell, but I also appreciate that if somebody else gives me hell, you're ride or die. But you have to stay out of it. You have to let it go. Because if you inject yourself into it, you become fair game. And that's when it can get ugly. Katya Lindor injected herself into the conversation. Now, she's a grown-ass woman, right? She's a grown-ass woman entering the arena of sports talk. She has every right to do it. Again, she's a grown-ass woman. She has every right to inject herself into the conversation. And if and when she does, because I am a feminist, I believe in equality, if you enter the arena and insert yourself into the conversation, you can be attacked just like Francisco Lindor. Just because you're a wife doesn't change the fact that you've now put yourself as an equal combatant on equal footing in the arena. For those of you that follow the show, you know that I go out of my way when possible. I set a preference for female guests to join the show, for women in sports to be a part of this show. But if you follow the show, you also know I'm going to challenge them just like I am any dude covering a sport, because we're all on equal footing in this arena. I get what you're saying. He backed off because here's the thing. We're talking sports, right? You started this conversation. You brought up leadership. You brought up Francisco Lindor. You said he's not a leader. You said these things.
Yeah, but I thought he was answering a question. If he was answering a question, then technically he didn't bring it up.
No. He started with all these veterans and no leadership.
Okay, all right.
Then he was asked about a specific player. What about Francisco Lindor? That's the guy you played with. Is he not a leader? And if he didn't want to go man-to-man with Francisco Lindor, he could have gone, I'm not going to name anybody specifically. I'm just going to say I think this team has no leadership, and that's fine. But you called out one dude, and now you're backing off of it? I'll tell you why this drives me up a wall. This drives me up a wall as a broadcaster, not as a sports fan, because I got no problem with the comments that Kipnis said. In fact, I even agree with them. The Mets are a rudderless team right now. They're a team that is spending too much money. The only reason that the Mets are 5 games back on the Braves right now is because of the fact that they have such a good on-paper lineup that they're going to win 80% of the games that they play against bottom half of the league teams. The Mets should be 29-17. They should be neck and neck with the Bravos. But they're not, because they do lack leadership. I don't have a problem with any of those comments. The problem I have is that Kipnis said what he said to start a fight. He said what he said to get into a headbutting contest. And as soon as he got called to the carpet and asked to prove what he said is correct, he went, no, but I'm really a good guy. I'm really a good guy. I'm really not a mean person. I'm really not a bad. No. You said what you said. If you're gonna be a butt, then stay a butt. If you're gonna be a jerk, then stay a jerk. This is the dude who walks around the bar talking smack, smacking women's behinds, running junk at a bunch of dudes. And the second that a guy steps up, kicks the bar stool out of the way, and squares up, he goes, I don't want any trouble, man. I don't want any trouble. No, you did. And now that you caught the smoke, you're backing down. Now, here's the fun part about the situation, Lonzo, that I'm intrigued to see. I'm not saying anything's going to come of it, but we talked about this on Bet for the Cycle on Saturday. And I said everything I just said to you. I think it was a weak sauce move from a former player trying to make a name for himself in broadcasting. So he calls a dude out. And then when he gets called out for the call out, and the wife enters the arena, all of a sudden, he offers the retraction, the apology. That's my bad. That's my bad. That's on me. When we all know in the world of social media, the initial attack gets 1 billion retweets, the apology gets 5, right? You get all the attention, you get all the love, all the puff from the attack, and then 3 days later, you apologize for it and say how you're not really a bad guy, but you already benefited from it. You already got the rub. You already got made to look good. So I called all this out on the show on Saturday, and then we get to the break, and Cody Decker goes, I hate you, Rob. And I said, why? And he said, because I just got asked to come on the Foul Territory podcast tomorrow. What do you think we're going to talk about? So you know what I told Cody Decker? Not that he's going to listen, and I wouldn't either, because he's about to be on a big-time podcast. Of course you go on there and you talk about it. But I said, hey, tell them, instead of asking you to defend this show from me and from them, just call me. Put me on. I'll tell them. I ain't worried about it. I'm not. See, unlike him, if Kipnis's wife calls me out on the air, I'm not going to apologize for what I said. There's no need for it. I made the call out. I'll stand by it. I'll answer it. And if he hits me and I need to apologize, I will. But I know what you did, Kip. You put out there an attack against one of the most noteworthy, one of the most recognized players in baseball, so that you could get the rub. And as soon as the rub went away and you got called out by the wife, you backed off of it so that you didn't have to answer. No. You should grab that mic and you should say it with your chest, dog. You should say what you said with your chest. You should own that comment, not back down now that the rub's gone away. You should stand by what you said, not back off of it. So I told Deck, hey, call me. I'll go on the pod. I ain't worried about it. Anyway, Cody records that podcast today. I'll see if anything comes of it. I'm curious. I doubt it. I'm a nobody, right? I'm a nobody in that world. But Kip heard what I had to say. Kip knows what I said. And I got $1 to a donut, says he is not going to say anything about it. All right, let's take a break. We'll come back here in just a minute. Got a few more things I want to get into. Got to talk quarterbacks. Got to talk NFC South. I've been promising that. We'll get to that. Maybe take a look up and down the Stanley Cup. Canes-Panthers, Game 3, down in Sunrise, down in Miami tonight. Carolina has to now win at least one of the next 2 on the road, preferably tonight, because going down 3-0, nope. So the Panthers got their back against the wall because Matthew Tkachuk is an assassin. 2 games, 2 overtimes, 2 Tkachuk goals to win them. We'll talk about that and more on the Rob Brown Show in the Fan Upstate.
See.
Live read here, guys. Stay right there. We'll be right back.
Set for baseball regional week softball.
Mets have a bunch of Roger Dorns and no Jake Taylors. Good reference. Approved. Approved.
Offsides with Mark Ryan. Upstate.
Lonzo just sent me a clip on the Twitter device. Can we run the audio from that? Obviously, I got it, so I didn't have time to upload it beforehand. Andy Dalton at the podium at Panthers camp right now. Short little 15-second clip, but Andy Dalton confirms something that I told you all a minute ago, which is Andy Dalton knows exactly the situation Andy Dalton's in. So basically, Andy Dalton says, look, I know the reality here, yeah? I know the reality here. BY is a starter. I mean, not right now, but at some point, it is inevitable he is going to be the starter. And of course he is. Of course he is. We all know that's the future.
Yeah, you don't draft someone number 1 overall and not plan on using them.
I was reading through some of the replies. It's David Newton, who covers the Panthers for ESPN, that posted that clip. And I was reading through some of the replies because that clip's been posted a couple of other places. But there's people who are like in shock by this. In shock by this. And I don't understand. This is the water's wet of football reporting, right? This is the desert's dry of football reporting. Andy Dalton knows the role Andy Dalton's in. Andy Dalton is there to be the one right now and to stay the one until BY's ready to be the one. And what he is, Andy Dalton will be the 2. This is not groundbreaking. The only question is going to be, when does BY stop being the 2 and start being the 1? And I mean, we can guess, but it's a guess. It's going to depend on how quickly BY picks up the playbook. And from what I understand, Bryce Young is already out there demonstrating that he gets it. But that shouldn't be a surprise to anybody. BY got drafted number 1 overall, not because of his incredible stature, not because of his blazing speed. He got drafted number 1 overall because he gets it. He knows football. He gets it. There's a dude in my band, Zoe, that is one of those musically gifted people. He can listen to a song one time and then pick up an instrument and play it, right? Like, he just gets it. If you're a musician who isn't like that, me, it's wildly frustrating.
Yeah, you hate and love those guys at the same time.
I love that guy being in my band. I hate that guy sitting around the campfire when the chicks are hanging out. Hate that guy. Love him when I'm on a stage with him, though, because he can look over and go, do these 3 things. And then you do it, and then all of a sudden you got a song that you've never played before. He's that good. That seems to be Bryce Young with a football playbook, right? He can look up and down it and go, okay, I got it.
So, according to several stories, Andy Dalton also mentioned that a play was written up wrong. Bryce Young pointed it out, and they fixed it.
Yeah. I'm not shocked by that at all. Not shocked by that.
I hope all this is real. I don't want this to be a work. I want this guy to be who they say he is.
For sure. For sure, without a doubt. Now, that is not the variable that is going to cause us to have to guess when it is that Bryce Young gets listed as QB1. The variable is going to be, well, first off, Andy Dalton. I'm not saying he will. But Lonzo, what happens if Andy Dalton comes out week 1 and goes 27 of 32 for 310 yards and 4 touchdowns?
Then you got to keep him in there.
Yeah. You ride the hot hand.
Also, you're going with the experience.
Yeah.
Which he has a ton of.
You ride the hot hand for sure, without a doubt. What happens if you go out there and Carolina beats Atlanta in week 1? New Orleans loses to Tennessee in week 1. Tampa loses in, I forget who they got week 1, but they lose week 1. And after week 1, Andy Dalton has let's say he goes 25 of 35 for 205 and 1 touchdown. But the Panthers are a game clear of everybody else in the South. Are you in a rush to get Bryce Young out there at that point?
Still not, especially if in that scenario the running game is kicking it. Because that would be the one way that he could score that low and them still win. We know the defenses should be pretty good too.
Absolutely. There's no rush at that point. There's no rush. I can continue to let him adapt and learn. Now, if BY gets to the end of fall camp, you're going into preseason, and he's got the playbook mastered, right? He's a leader. Guys are looking up and listening to what he has to say. I think at that point, you might go, all right, let's ride now. But I give him a chance to feel what regular season life feels like for an NFL player. And you got a great start. Week 1, you're in Atlanta. That's not an exhausting travel routine, right? You're not flying to LA. You're not flying to London. You're not going to stand up in New York City in front of the New York media who blast quarterbacks. You're not doing any of that. You're going to Atlanta, a place that also has tempered expectations right now. You're not going to face a vicious media. It's not an exhausting trip, right? It's a 3-hour bus ride from Charlotte to Atlanta. It ain't much to ask for. So you let him get that, and then you bring him back. And if you're fine, if you're up 1-0 on the division in week 2 when New Orleans coming to town on a Monday night, I can now let you get comfortable with not just a home game, but a primetime home game. A primetime home game that is not a high-pressure home game. It's high pressure. It's a divisional game. But especially if New Orleans drops 1 to Tennessee and you get 1 over in Atlanta, you're not in a bad spot. Even if you lose that game, you're level for the division lead at that point. I can let him learn what it's like to have a primetime game on an off day, not on a traditional NFL schedule. Let him get used to that without having to worry about seeing the field, without commanding an offense. And hell, if you go out there and the Saints jump up 21-0 early, make the switch at halftime, right? Pressure hadn't been on the guy yet. Now you can go, all right, let's plug you in. Baptism by fire, baby. Get out there. Let's see what happens. So the point is, you don't have to be in a hurry here. The point is, you can give my guy some time to get it, some time to feel out the speed of the game, not just on the field, but off of it as well. So even if he's mastered the playbook at that point, you don't have to rush him. You can let him get the rest. You can let him get the off the field NFL life down before you force him out there. I told you, Andy Dalton knows what this is for him, right? I don't think Andy Dalton has any disillusion that Andy Dalton's going to come in and be a Pro Bowler, right? I don't think Andy Dalton is confused as to what he is. He is a 35-year-old journeyman starter quarterback. He had a good run with the Bengals. made the playoffs a couple times, got down to New Orleans, was able to wrestle the starting job away from Jameis Winston and hang on to it, earned himself a big deal with Carolina for a year where he gets to be a bridge transition starter. And guess what happens to Andy Dalton if he kills it as a bridge quarterback this year? Somebody else picks him up to do the same thing next year, and he gets another 1 year, $8 million contract to go play 2, 3, 4 weeks while Caleb Williams gets developed by whoever's next. It's cushy. It's a great spot. Frank Reich knows it. Andy Dalton knows it. BY knows it. That's a great setup. Tell you what the worst setup would be. If Andy Dalton got to the mic and he said, listen, I know Carolina put a lot of stock in this young man. I think he's got the potential to be a very long-term future star in this league, but here's the deal. They signed me to be the starting quarterback. I'm not here to teach Bryce Young. I'm here to win games. I'm here to be the starter. I'm here to earn this job. I'm here to keep this job. I'm here to win a Super Bowl for the Carolina. Like, that's not what you want. And we've seen that before. Aaron Rodgers did that for Jordan Love.
Yeah, but those were established starters that have been there for a very long time. I'm guessing that Andy Dalton, when they brought him in, that they already told him that they were drafting the guy, the new starting quarterback, number 1. I'm guessing they told him that. I mean, how could you not when you bring someone like that in?
Again, I agree with that. Like, I think that's the conversation you have with Andy Dalton before you sign him, right? Hey, AD, look, whether we get him at 9 or 6 or 3 or 1, we're drafting a quarterback this year. That's why we're signing you to a 1-year deal. We need a bridge quarterback. You're that guy. Are you willing to be that guy? Are you willing to hand over the reins when he's ready? Now, I got no problem if Andy Dalton brings a little confidence to the table of, I'm going to try to prevent him from starting, right? I'm going to go out there and try to prevent him from starting. I'm going to try to go out there and play so well that they cannot justifiably pull me. Like I said, Zoe is absolutely right. You don't draft a guy first overall to not play him. But if Andy Dalton goes out there in week 1 and he goes 27 of 32 for 305 and 3 touchdowns, he's the starter week 2. I'm riding with that until that number ain't there no more. And I got no problem with Andy Dalton trying to make that the case, unless he starts overriding the game plan, right? Because I do think we also agree on this. Tell me if I'm wrong here, great one. But even if Andy Dalton's got a hot hand, Carolina's a run-first team, at least out of the gate, right?
Oh, they should be. We're getting the running back out of Detroit, and plus what they already have. I think historically they've always been that.
They are, without a doubt, a run-first team. They stocked up the wide receiver core. I'm not saying they can't throw it. But Miles Sanders, Chuba Hubbard, Raheem Blackshear, they're a run-first team behind Miles Sanders. So even if Andy Dalton's hot, there's still going to be, or still should be, a run-first team. Now, with all of that being said, I got no problem with Andy Dalton going out and trying to be so damn good that Frank Reich's got to go, look, the goal is to make BY QB1, but AD's out here running this offense, and we're winning. Carolina rips off 3, 4, 5 wins to start the season. Andy Dalton stays QB1 until they're not that anymore. But I think he knows what his role is. I think he knows what his job is. I think Bryce Young understands how this works. And again, all we have to go off of is press conferences. But everybody is coming into this knowing what their role is. And if I'm Fitterer, if I'm Tepper, if I'm Frank Reich, if I'm BY, if I'm Andy Dalton, it makes me get the warm fuzzies, man. It really does. Texter said for 1 year, $8 million, you can tattoo back up on my butt cheeks. Yeah, I got to tell you, the list of things that I would accept 1 year, $8 million for is Extensive for sure. All right. So when, dear listener, when would the switch get made? When would the switch get made? I'm going to go ahead and call the shot now. Nobody knows. Frank Reich don't know. Andy Dalton don't know. Bryce Young don't know. Scott Fitterer doesn't know. And there's not a radio show host in America who knows. Because the variables are what's going to make this decision. The numbers Andy Dalton puts up. The level to which Bryce Young has the playbook mastered. The opening season win and loss streaks for not just Carolina, but for New Orleans, for Atlanta, for Tampa Bay as well. There are 50, 60 different variables all in play here, all of which have some percentage impact on that decision. And my response, my thought here would be very simple, great one. Don't rush it. You have a unique opportunity at Carolina that Houston does not have with C.J. Stroud, that Indianapolis does not have with Anthony Richardson. You do not have to rush these cats. You have to rush C.J. Stroud. He's got to be ready week 1, right? Because Davis Mills ain't the answer.
Yeah, and what else does Houston have?
Yeah.
In order to sell tickets and a lot of others, they've got to get him out there.
Yep. C.J. Stroud has to be ready week 1. You have to rush him. Anthony Richardson, quick. Let's play the Rob Brown Show edition home game. Lonzo, who's the starting QB for the Indianapolis Colts right now?
Anthony Richardson.
Correct. Now, if you look at their depth chart, it says Gardner Minshew.
Oh, yeah.
Anthony Richardson's got to be ready week 1. He just does. Bryce Young does not have to be ready week 1. You have a unique opportunity with a highly touted rookie quarterback. You don't have the division's bad. The only thing you've got to worry about is Derek Carr, future Hall of Famer for the New Orleans Saints. Outside of that, you're not in a rush. So don't rush it. Let him figure it out. Let's take a break. We'll come back here in just a minute. Twitter trending topics and call it a day. I am Rob Brown. He's the great one, Lonzo, and you're listening to the Rob Brown Show on the Fan Upstate.
I'm Chuck Sanders. Here's the Sports Flash on the Fan Upstate. Brooks Koepka won the PGA Championship at Oak Hill by closing with a 67 and winning by 2 shots over Scotty Scheffler and Victor Hovland. He's now won the PGA.
Case Keenum, Houston legend.
Larson took the checkered flag at the All-Star race and earned $1 million Sunday night in the Cup Series. Returns at North Wilkesboro Speedway following a 27-year absence. Bubba Wallace ran second, followed by Tyler Reddick, Chase Briscoe, and Chase Elliott.
It's got a chance. Pollock on the run. That ball is gone. Home run. Travis d'Arnaud, his first of the year. 3-1 Atlanta.
The action on the Braves Radio Network, 3-2 the win over the Mariners on Sunday. Rookie Jared Schuster held the Mariners to just 1 hit. He struck out 7 with a walk in his 4th career start. The Fan Upstate is your home for Furman Paladin sports all year long. Download the Odyssey app, search the Fan Upstate, and listen anywhere on your phone. I'm Chuck Sanders with the Sports Flash on the Fan Upstate.
I'm JB1 with NFL Network Now. Westwood One Radio Network. Did Jadavian Clowney go home again? He began his NFL career as the Texans' #1 overall pick in 2014. And now, as a free agent, says this about the return to Houston. Quote, it would be nice. All my family is here. Friends here. He went on to say, you never know what will happen. You never know what's in front of you. Clowney spent his first 5 years in the NFL as a Texan, and with 3 Pro Bowls before Houston traded him to Seattle for the 2019 season. Meantime, New York Jets offensive tackle Mekhi Becton says he's looking forward to training camp. Becton was the 11th overall pick in the 2020 NFL Draft by the Jets, but after starting 13 games his rookie season, knee injuries have limited him to just 1 game the last 2 years. This has been NFL Network Now on the Westwood One Radio Network.
Come shop Memorial Day deals now at Lowe's. Refresh your home for the summer for less. When you buy one, get one 50% off on select interior and exterior paints and exterior stains via Lowe's gift card rebate. And get ready for fun gatherings by saving over $100 on the Style Selections Pelham Bay 5-piece dining set. Now just $345. Lowe's knows home improvement. Valid through 5/31. While supplies last. Selection varies by location. More terms and restrictions apply. See Lowe's.com/rebates for details.
The Angie's List you know and trust is now Angie, and we're so much more than just a list. We still connect you with top local pros and show you ratings and reviews, but now we also let you compare upfront prices on hundreds of projects and book a service instantly. We can even handle the rest of your project from start to finish. So remember, Angie's List is now Angie, and we're here to get your job done right. Get started at Angie.com. That's ANGI, or download the app today.
Discover credit cards automatically double all the cash back you earn at the end of your first year, which means, wait, hold up. Question for the audio engineer.
Go ahead.
Did I read that right? Discover automatically doubles all your cash back?
Yeah, that's what the script says.
So if I get a Discover card right now, I can earn twice the cash back.
Wait. Unlimited first-year cashback match, only from Discover. See terms and learn more at discover.com/match.
Come shop Memorial Day deals now at Lowe's. Refresh your home for the summer for less. When you buy one, get one 50% off on select interior and exterior paints and exterior stains via Lowe's gift card rebate. And get ready for fun gatherings by saving over $100 on the Style Selections Pelham Bay 5-piece dining set. Now just $345. Lowe's knows home improvement. Valid through 5/31. While supplies last. Selection varies by location. More terms and restrictions apply. See Lowe's.com/rebates for details.
Finding great people to hire can be like trying to find a needle in a haystack, but not with ZipRecruiter. Their powerful matching technology delivers so many qualified candidates, it's like finding a needle in a needle stack. In fact, 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. For less hay and more needles, head to ZipRecruiter.
And right now, you can try ZipRecruiter for free. That's right, free. At ZipRecruiter.com/free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/free.
What's worse than calling your groin your junk? Treating it like junk.
What's worse than calling your groin your junk? What an opening line from Gillette.
This afternoon, variable cloudiness and breezy high 80s.
Weather brought to you by Twisted Tea. Twisted Tea Hard Iced Tea. Made with real brewed tea and a 5% kick of alcohol. Look for the bright yellow cans in store. Twisted Tea. Keep it twisted.
From the Ingalls Market Studio, the
Upstate, 97.7 FM Greenville, 97.1 FM Spartanburg.
Always live from the Free Agency. CBS Sports Radio. And now, the Rob Bell Show presents Trending Topics.
All right, time for Twitter Trending Topics, where I tell Rob what's trending. He tells us why. The first thing that's trending is Mercedes Moné.
Yes, the artist formerly known as Sasha Banks has joined a litany of top-tier female professional wrestlers who were injured over the weekend. Liv Morgan has been out. Jamie Hayter is injured again. Mercedes Moné is injured. And there's like a couple others, if I recall correctly.
Dakota Kai
is on the bench right now. So tough weekend for women's wrestling.
And if you watch it, it looks like when supposedly the injury happened, it kind of was her fault. She was trying to do something off the top rope with Willow Nightingale, who is not, she's sturdy. But it just looked like she slipped off the top rope and went all the way down onto the floor, and it might have messed her ankle or her knee up.
Yeah, we know what it is, right? It's a dangerous sport. You know what they don't do when a wrestler hurts their leg?
Joseph says he believes it's a broken ankle.
Broken ankle, that's rough. You know what they don't do when a wrestler hurts their leg at a wrestling match? They don't bring out black tarps and euthanize them next to the ring. Stop horse racing. It's stupid, and you should all feel bad for liking it.
You're right, they don't, but she was carried out of the ring, and
not good.
Yeah, and she was keeping that leg stiff. The next thing is trending is Delaware.
Delaware.
Hey, I don't know why, but Delaware is trending. And how often do you mention Delaware? I mean,
About once a year when NASCAR goes there.
okay, all right.
I think.
So
I think they've got a race in Delaware, don't they? I think once a year. I'm gonna tell you the truth. I got a mission in my life to visit all 50 states before I die, right? Delaware's probably going last. I'm trying to think of what's going to be power ranked behind. I'm sure Delaware is a beautiful state. To the one of you from Delaware listening,
are you
right
sure
now.
though? I mean, because we haven't been there. It isn't like that there are photos everywhere unless you really go digging for Delaware.
Let's see highlights of Delaware. Delaware. It's one of those words that the more you say it, the less real it feels. Joey B said raising Delawareness. Joey B is a dad now. He is a dad now. So let's see. Delaware beaches, which I'm looking at. No. Namor's estate in Wilmington, Delaware.
I met Prince Namor.
No,
like the
not,
Submariner.
No, not that.
Okay, all right.
Winterthur Museum in. So basically, Delaware's got a bunch of old houses
and cemeteries.
Yeah, like of their top 12 attractions, like 6 of them are old houses. The Delaware Old State House, which, by the way, was completed well after the American Revolution. So it's not even like you got that going for them. And they have 2 state parks, which
All right, the last thing that's trending
Delaware.
is AEW Fight Forever.
The video game, which is still not out.
No, release date has just come out. It's June 29th.
Oh, okay.
They actually show some gameplay. I don't know, man. I don't know.
It's going to be more video game-ish than the 2K, the WWE series, right?
Yeah, it's hard to top
More
that.
classic video game-ish. Yeah, we'll see. Highlight of Delaware, Joe Biden, just stay away. Wow. The heat at the end of the show. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, that's the end of the show. Thank you guys so much for listening. Hope you enjoyed it as much as we enjoyed bringing it to you. We're back tomorrow to do it all over again, but better on the Rob Brown Show and the Fan Upstate. Later, brother. Listen, I'm a big history guy, right? Like when we got to Baston on our vacation last year, the first thing I told the lady friend, the first thing we did when we got off the plane, I told the lady friend, I'm like, I want all the history. We did the Patriot Trail, which takes you to all of the American Revolutionary War sites around Boston. And it was one of the greatest days of my life. I loved it. But again, like I'm not saying there's nothing in Delaware.
I've already been on that Freedom Trail in Fallout 4. So, I mean, I can tell you where everything is because they make sure that they're completely accurate when they do those. They go to those cities and they take pictures and stuff, and they get questioned by the government because they're taking pictures of that stuff. And so I've already been there. So if I went there, I would be able to go, yeah, I know what that is. I know what that is. I know what that is because video games are awesome.
So is the actual Patriot Trails in Fallout 4? Do I need to play Fallout 4?
Fallout 4 is set in Boston. Yeah. Fenway is like one of the central locations. They call it Diamond City. There's like a city down there. The big green monster, one of the things that you can do is go find paint to help this dude keep the monster green.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Everybody has Boston accents. I mean, yeah.
Okay, so you literally follow the actual Freedom Trail, and it's like a side mission to do that.
No, you contact the railroad.
Okay.
And the railroad, what they do is synths who want to escape the Institute, they help to integrate them into society because they look and sound like real people. And so it's another one of you have to side with a certain faction near the end, and that's how the ending happens. It's another one of those. You have to do a bunch of undercover drops and things like that. It's pretty cool. Their leader is Desmodona or something like that. It's a weird name.
I may have to try it just because I like the setting.
But your boy, who you get as also a companion for that, is Deacon, and he like changes his appearance almost every time you see him. He's somebody different, which is kind of cool.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you guys for hanging out. Appreciate it. You're all spectacular people. Have a lovely rest of your day. We'll see you back here tomorrow to do it all over again. Goodbye.